This is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima has resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Are you okay, Ben?
I'm scared, Arvid.
Why?
Nicole can read my mind.
What?
Hold on. Is this about the Ashton recliner again?
See? I was just thinking about the Ashton recliner at Penny Mustard.
Yes, we were just talking about its optionizable qualities.
I said I'd like the Ashton recliner in leather, and she said...
Done.
I suggested a different leg color, and she said...
Done.
Ben.
And then he asked if I could add bedazzled gold nailhead adornments to make it look like a throne.
And she said, great minds think alike.
Look, I don't think Nicole can really read your mind.
Well, not anymore. That's why I'm wearing this tinfoil hat.
Why does it smell like fish?
Because I wrapped my lunch in it.
The Ashton recliner, made in the USA with locally sourced materials and designed to fit all body types, starting at $28.70 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Chicagoland traffic. The Ike, the Stevenson, the dreaded 294. You sitting in traffic is not time well spent. Time is money.
Oh, come on, man. What's the slowdown for?
Especially when you're trying to do your own company deliveries.
What is happening up there? I got things to deliver.
But instead of sitting there getting more and more frustrated,
Please, can we go any slower?
you could be back at the shop getting work done.
I should have stayed at work and actually worked.
Get Quick Delivery Service to battle the traffic for you. They'll make your deliveries while you get other things done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your deliveries are tracked with real-time GPS notifications. Visit quickdelivery.com and stay out of traffic.
Oh no, this exit's closed?
Call now for a free quote. 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago. a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
This is Carol Platt, Liebau for townhall.com. Last Saturday, the Army celebrated its 250th birthday with a military parade on the National Mall. The contrast with the No Kings rally held the same day couldn't have been more striking. No Kings rallies seem to be populated predominantly by unhappy, aging baby boomers. You had to wonder whether, given their age, they were getting their information only from legacy media. That might account for the fact that some, when interviewed, seemed to be bordering on anti-Trump hysteria. By contrast, the crowd at the Army parade was younger, multi-ethnic, and happy. They weren't there to celebrate Donald Trump or his birthday, which coincidentally happened to be the same day. They were honoring the fighting force that has kept the people of our great country both safe and free, often at great personal cost. That's a hopeful sign for our future. I'm Carol Platt Liebau.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
You deserve a dedicated financial resource. Meet Michelle Shute with West Point Financial Group, a MassMutual firm. Michelle builds lifelong relationships, guiding families through legacy strategies, from grandparents down to grandkids. She helps people secure their financial independence. Her tailored approach to savings can help you prepare for college, retirement, or business protection. Michelle's needs-based approach helps you prepare for all of life's biggest moments. Michelle Shute of West Point Financial Group, helping you earn, learn, and secure your tomorrow. Email Michelle at mshoot@financialguide.com. That's MSCHOOT @financialguide.com. Local firms or sales offices of Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. MassMutual, Springfield, Massachusetts 01111-001, and are not subsidiaries of MassMutual or its affiliated companies. Michelle Shute is a registered representative of and offers securities through MML Investor Services, LLC, member SIPC. Supervisory office located at 30 South Wacker Drive, Suite 2700, Chicago, Illinois 60606.
Attention American homeowners, you're under attack. Your home and equity could be vulnerable to cyber thieves. There's only one company that completely stops them, and that company is Equity Protect. Equity Protect prevents any attempts to steal your home, equity, and ownership 24/7. Get your free risk report today by texting the word HOME to 94878. That's right, text the word HOME to 94878 to get your free risk report. Keep your equity and legacy safe with Equity Protect.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, now your official weather forecast.
A shower early this morning, then partly sunny for today, high 85. Partly cloudy for tonight, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy, a hot one on Saturday, the high at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So it's last call for Tehran. President Trump saying yesterday that, well, first of all, you know, they'd like to come to the White House and meet. Maybe that happens.
A little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that.
But otherwise, they've got a few days to decide who they want to be.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson, Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first and make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me. But nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. We have been fighting, but no nuclear weapons. So at some point, the rubber meets the road, and that is going to be right soon, just logically, because of the Israel's campaign against the Iranian nuclear program. It only makes sense that you're either going to act now or not. You know, for those, we'll get into it too, in MAGA world or the woke right, that are critical of this, and frankly, some of the commentary is just over the top. You know, these are a lot of the same people who were critical when Barack Obama drew a imaginary red line with respect to Assad and the Syrian government gassing its own people, and then wouldn't man that line. Trump has been saying the same thing about Iran and nuclearization for the better part of a decade. So how do you not expect him to man the line that he draws? Isn't that what you do expect from him?
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that very same line. I mean, people are concerned. I've talked to several family members who, what are we going to do? Are our kids going to be sent to fight a war? Is this going to start World War III? And like, everybody relax. It's, I trust Trump that he knows what he's doing. He's being honest with people that he has a plan in place, but he hasn't decided whether or not to execute.
Well, and I think he's decided, but of course he's not going to telegraph all of it. He had to appropriately belittle a reporter who wanted, the exact
when, where, and how
time and coordinates of any potential strike.
Have you been answered questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities? Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country.
Yeah, telegraphing what you're going to do, probably not the smartest play. He, of course, realizes that. The other thing he realizes is that that unpredictability, particularly if it results in him helping to close down Iran's nuclear program, sends a message to Russia, sends a message to China that, he's America first, and he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want a war. He doesn't want to put Americans or, frankly, other people in harm's way. But America first means serving America's geopolitical interests. And you remember the phrase that was used to describe Trump's foreign policy by Trump in term one, principled realism. There are certain lines you draw, principles you establish, like Iran shall not have nuclear weapons, and then you act in a practical way in furtherance of those objectives that you have defined as in America's interest. And that's, I think, what you see happening here. And it sends a message to theocrats and autocrats the world over that, yes, America first. Yes, I am inclined towards deal-making in furtherance of peace. However, if you compel me, then I am not averse to doing what needs to be done in furtherance of the objective that must be achieved. And that's, I really think, the linear explanation for how you see this playing out. Marvin in Burlington, Wisconsin.
Good morning. We all know there's a group of people in this country who are basically suicidal. They want to fight to keep violent criminals in this country. So why wouldn't they want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? I mean, this is about survival of the human race. If the Middle East allows an arms race, which will happen if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, you're going to have all the other oil-rich countries wanting nuclear weapons as well. And how you control people with certain ideologies over there with those kind of weapons is I would say impossible.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. I like the line there, the antipathy that the left has for the West in general. It manifests itself in releasing criminals into this country, domestic and imported, as well as, taking a sympathetic position toward the lead state sponsor of terror in the world.
Yesterday in New York, they had a gathering waving the Iranian flag. Now, put down your Hamas flag. Now pick up your Iranian one.
If that moron in the White House, Donald Trump, says, yes, I'm going to do it, and if he's allowed to do it, we are going to enter a new era of political instability that will make the last 20 years look like a Tea Party. Each and every one of us.
Who's that?
That's anti-war protesters. Hundreds took to the streets late yesterday in New York City.
Greg in LaGrange.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm just too ignorant on the subject. The thing that scares me the most, Dan and Amy, is I look back at this kind of approach as possibly fighting the last war, not the future wars. I'm just really worried about this policy. A lot can go wrong with taking them out and not doing it the right way.
Well, let's be specific about who the them is, because we're not taking them out. This is not my belief. This is not about regime change. That's going to be a domestic issue. This is about eliminating the nuclear program and setting them back. Setting them back to the beginning.
The thing that scares me a lot is there's so much technology out there now that can destroy other countries and other civilizations that we have to be very careful about how we approach this. And it just worries me. It just worries me because I'm ignorant, Dan. I need more information.
No, thanks for the call. Well, I mean, it's okay to be concerned. These are concerning issues. We'll pick it up. We'll take more of your calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line 538.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Intel plans to lay off 15 to 20% of its factory workforce starting in July, which could result in over 10,000 job losses globally. It will affect primarily factory workers and microchip research developers. While the exact number of Intel factory workers and developers is unknown, estimates suggest the layoffs will impact about half of its 109,000 employees. The cuts follow declining sales and a reported $821 million loss in the first quarter of this year. No voluntary buyouts will be offered. They're saying the mass deportations could harm California's economy.
A new report from the Bay Area Council Economic Institute reveals deportations could cost the state about $275 billion.
These workers make up 33% of the state's farm workers and 26% of construction laborers. And I mean, these are jobs that are just critical to California's economy and infrastructure.
That's Abby Reyes with the Bay Area Council. 61% of construction workers in the state are immigrants, and nearly 2/3 of the state's agricultural workforce are immigrants of any status. According to the report, undocumented workers also contribute about 5% to the state's economic output and pay over $23 billion in taxes annually. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts you're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now
Charlie Kirk believes ignorance is part of the problem.
He yelled, "Free Palestine." This is a pattern, and it's only continuing. What is driving this? Well, first of all, and this just needs to be said, the misunderstanding of what is actually happening between Israel and Hamas drives people to do insane stuff.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth, talks about the importance of tax planning in retirement.
A qualified financial planner can take you through all the steps to show you every single legal way you can use to reduce and minimize your state income taxes across the board so that, again, you keep more of your money and your family keeps more of your money.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
The Charlie Kirk podcast is on the Salem Podcast Network.
The media far too often has become the enemy of the people. The media told those of us that noticed Joe Biden's mental decline for years that you are wrong, that you are spreading mis and disinformation. They knew how bad this was, and these reporters actively covered up one of the greatest scandals in American history.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
A shower this morning early, then partly sunny. High today 85. Tonight partly cloudy, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy day on Saturday, much warmer. High Saturday at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about Trump's pronouncements yesterday on Iran. And we did hear from the Iranians as well. Khamenei saying, well, as reported by Al Jazeera, that there shall be no surrender. There shall be no imposed war or imposed peace, whatever that means.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has released a statement as the conflict between Israel and Iran intensifies. He says the Iranian nation will stand firm against an imposed war, just as it will stand firm against an imposed peace. And this nation will not surrender to anyone in the face of imposition. The Americans.
Trump responding to they will not surrender in the face of any nation.
President, what do you say to the Supreme Leader of Iran says that they will not surrender?
Say good luck.
No, never surrender, no surrender. Pardon my Corey Hart. Well, then good luck to you. I think the decision has been made, and now it's a question of what Iran wants to do with the remaining time it has on the clock before the United States assists Israel in finishing the job. That's where I think it's at.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, or you could text us on that very same line. They also, Iran said that if we do attack them with Israel, they are going to bomb our military bases.
Yeah, the Iranians also said the other night that tonight we're going to see something that the world will remember for centuries. I don't recall anything in the last 48 hours that I'm going to remember or that will be remembered for centuries. So, the bellicose rhetoric and the tough talk, and as said before, and then there's who is willing to do what in furtherance of their competing aims. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Chet Lyle.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I think if Trump walks his talks and fully takes out the capability the Iranians have, I think this sends reverberations across the whole world. I think all of a sudden you see other people lining up to listening to Trump, particularly Putin. We already know that the alleged oil shock did not occur, so that's a leverage point on Putin to get him to the table of Ukraine. And I think what's most important is the rest of the administration needs to be good caddies and line up behind the player, Donald Trump, and quit sending out other messages like Tulsi Gabbard has done and things like that. Thank you.
Well, is she even part of the conversation? Because she was not invited to Camp David last weekend.
Yeah, Trump has suggested that whatever disagreement or distaste that he had for comments she made back in March during that committee hearing, that everything is copacetic. By the way, that also was misread by people and being used by some of the woke right to say, there's no nuclear program because Tulsi Gabbard testified that the intelligence community estimates that Iran is not going to be able to develop nuclear weapons imminently. And then there's competing assessments and statements. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's the capacity and the appetite to move in that direction absent prevention. And prevention, as we have seen over the last several decades, does not come from the International Atomic Energy Administration. Newt Gingrich was on Hannity last night, and he gave us a little bit of a reminder of some of the history since the Shah was toppled, Iran's posture towards America since the revolution.
The original Ayatollah Khomeini first started calling us the Great Satan in 1978. Iranian mobs began chanting death to America in 1979 when they seized illegally the American embassy. They have been taunting us, attacking us, harassing us all these years through all these presidents. And finally, they have collided with Donald J. Trump, and he's crossed the line. He and Netanyahu are partners, much like Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were partners, and the two of them are going to change history decisively. I believe they're going to break the mullahs and the regime, create a new Iran, which will, in a decade, be dramatically more prosperous, be a neighbor, be accepted, be part of the region. This would not have happened with anyone except Donald J. Trump. It's obvious. This guy has the guts. He has the understanding. He actually follows the logic. If you don't want a nuclear Iran, then you've got to stop the mullahs, because as long as they're there, there's going to be a nuclear Iran, and he's prepared to do whatever it takes to stop them. This will not be a forever war. This will be a brief, brutal, direct use of American power to end the regime and end the threat and make both the world and the Middle East safer.
Well, end the regime is not something that Trump has said, and I don't think it's something that he's going to say. I think he wants some separation there. The regime may come to an end, but that's not the goal. The goal here is for the nuclear program to come to an end, as promised, as consistent with the statement I have made for a decade, which is Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. And by the way, when Gingrich mentioned the constant attacks and death to America chants and so forth, the death to America chants, that's one thing. The attacks, I mean, let's not forget the Beirut barracks bombing, the Beirut barracks bombing in '83. That was carried out by a militant with links to Hezbollah, underwritten by Iran. So these are not. This is not a paper tiger when it comes to their tendencies towards annihilation of their enemies by any means necessary. Tony in Downers Grove.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. Well, I hope nobody played Father Pickering yesterday at your golf outing. But I agree with Newt Gingrich 100%, especially since Iran just hit the Soroka Medical Center in Israel, and there's 65 dead. So
right.
If people don't think that Trump's not going to pull the trigger with the bunker busters, they're kidding themselves. And Gingrich is right, and everybody's been saying this for years. So this gets done, and Dan, I think the regime will change, because if we help with the bunker busters, I think Israel will go in and make the regime change. And I also think this will help with Gaza, because it's going to weaken Hamas.
Thanks for the call, Tony. I don't know that Israel has the capacity to engineer regime change any more than we do. It's a lot easier than just sort of cutting and paste. A lot more difficult, I should say. It's not so easy to just cut and paste in new people in a foreign country. We've learned that, haven't we? So I think this is end the program. Hope that the Iranian people make a different choice and a better one, and we'll see. Maybe through soft power and so forth. I know you have the heir to the Shah out there as a possibility, but there's very, very mixed reviews about him and his capacity to lead that country. regardless, yes, you hope for a regime in Iran, like you hope for a regime in every country that believes in peaceful pluralism and is willing to be, if not an ally, a country that constructively engages with the United States. So we'll see.
But sometimes the replacement is worse.
Well, we all recognize that, but that doesn't mean you are absolved from confronting the evil that is present for a potential future evil. Ray in Barrington.
Good morning. Yeah, some of these isolationists keep saying they can't reach us, their missiles wouldn't get here, et cetera, et cetera. For many, many years, there's been an undercurrent of all they would have to do is put a nuke in a large yacht or a container and sail it up the Hudson River.
Well, possibly. We're not impenetrable. I agree, Ray. But by the same token, they've had this attitude for some time now, haven't they? How many assassination plots that involved directly or indirectly Iran have been foiled just in the last 18 months? So if they, if they were able to do that so easily, they probably would have done it. Don't overestimate their capacity or underestimate our ability to prevent those sorts of incursions. Again, there's no guarantees, and we're not invulnerable. We saw that during the spike in Islamist-related terrorism after 9/11, didn't we? I understand. But you have to weigh that against what you perceive to be the threat of a nuclear Iran. Philip in Blue Island. Hey,
the Mossad and Benjamin Netanyahu has been for at least 15 to 20 years been regurgitating this same nuclear threat from Iran. But you don't see them threatening North Korea. You don't see them threatening Russia. You don't see them threatening China. And these are all so-called enemies, because Mossad and Benjamin Netanyahu have been. Why does Americans continue to believe this same lie that he rolls out, especially when and what's his name, Graham, talking about the mushroom cloud? I heard that and I was like, the Americans cannot be this stupid to continue to believe.
I tell you, Philip, you're living in a bit of a glass house on that assertion. But with respect to threats, let me ask you a question. Is Venezuela as great a threat to us as, say, China, do you think?
No.
Right. So Iran and Russia, Iran and China present very different threats to Israel, don't they? Because, for example, Iran has called for the annihilation of the state of Israel repeatedly since the Shah was deposed. This is what their end game is. Oh, and then they also animate State Department designated terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah to carry, and the Houthis, to carry out this effort over time, where they can either create or opportunities are provided. So it's a little bit different, isn't it? When you have a neighbor that is seeking your annihilation and acting in furtherance of it, that's a little bit different thing, isn't it?
But when you talk about the Houthis and you talk about all of these other small entities that cannot even compare to the effect that the United States and the West and Israel collectively, the power that they have is what Iran itself has. It's minuscule. It's not even close to now try to drop bombs.
So what should be done then? I mean, you're acknowledging the Iranian theocracy's history, are you not? So what should be done about it? Should we be indifferent to whether or not Iran obtains nuclear weapons or not?
No, I don't believe Iran is 2 years, 3 years, 5 years close to.
Well, let's say you're wrong, because you don't know anything. So let's say you're wrong. God, you're not an atomic. You're not a part of the IAEA. Okay. You're not an inspector. You're not a Foreign Service officer. Let's just say you're wrong. The general question: should we be indifferent to the Iranians obtaining a nuclear weapon?
We should be looking for the truth because Benjamin Netanyahu has lied continuously for 30 years almost at this point. He's always bring back the same argument against, again, they moved the mushroom cloud, and you see what happened in Iraq. Come on. Let's see what happened in Syria. This is like a Western plan to really just any powerful Arab state in that region has to be demolished. It don't matter if they got nuclear, if they do or they don't. They're going to make the world believe, or they're going to make the West believe that they have the threat of nuclear weapons, and we got to destroy them.
Yeah, it's a non-answer that I sort of expect, but it's a funny position to take that the Iranians are unwilling to make. The Israelis are unwilling to make peace in the region, and they're just warmongers, and they're looking for the next war, and they're going to drag America into it. When they were party to those Abraham Accords that President Trump instigated, and they wanted to continue building upon the accords that were signed to get a deal done with Saudi Arabia, too. And, oh, by the way, of course, there's a sort of a power struggle, long-standing power struggle in the Arab world between the Iranians and the Saudis. And so Iran has a lot of enemies in the Arab world, too. But I know those complications are not interesting to people like Philip because it's just sort of this rote, knee-jerk, thoughtless regurgitation of because mistakes have been made in the past that we should turn a blind eye to the Iranians, mainly because we don't really believe in America as a unique nation. We don't believe in America as the center of moral leadership in the Western world, and by extension, the world. We don't believe in American exceptionalism. It's just another country. And Israel's just another country, and Iran's just another country, and they're all equivalent.
Got a lot of text messages. Dan and Amy, my kids will not die for Israel. Another one, can you please explain why the U.S. should fight Israel's war?
Again, this is not Israel's war. How many times must it be? Did I just mention we had 241 American servicemen murdered by a terrorist organization sponsored by Iran in 1983? Do we remember nothing? Do we remember nothing about what the intelligence community knew about Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and ISIS and sort of the lethargy to act in furtherance of what we knew in the interest of American security? There were, again, I don't want to play Monday morning quarterback on these or relitigate them in great detail, but there were opportunities to incur. It wasn't like nobody knew who Osama bin Laden was before 2001. It wasn't like we didn't have the World Trade Center bombing one. It's a very cavalier attitude you have to people that, again, seek to annihilate other races and
religions
and act in furtherance of it as the animating motive of their regime. My kids are not going to. Nobody is calling for a draft. Nobody, perhaps other than Lindsey Graham, is calling for boots on the ground. It's so you have to actually contain yourself to what is being proposed. And what is being proposed, as far as I understand it, and this is also what I would support, is eliminating Iran's nuclear program. And by the way, don't think that previous administrations, including Joe Obama, didn't believe that Iran was moving in the direction of nuclear weapons, too. They thought that appeasement, conciliation, to bring them into the community of nations was the way to, if they end up getting nukes, then they're still going to be one of our partners in peace. So that's wildly Pollyannish, too. By the way, there's also a good example in the neighborhood here of what happens when America turns a blind eye and allows a country that shouldn't have nukes to have nukes. You know what that country's name is? I'll give you a hint. It's the country that hid Osama bin Laden after 9/11. You know, remember where he was found in Abbottabad? Yeah, that's in Pakistan. Pakistan's a nuclear power, and it's created nothing but problems because we were shrugging our shoulders as Pakistan pursued nuclear weapons in the 70s into the 80s. Lewis, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. We seen this in a movie back in 1951. It was called The Day the Earth Stood Still. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah, it's a terrible movie, and that was based on like an environmental apocalypse, which of course is every Hollywood movie that tries to tackle end of world stuff, not something like this.
It was based on the nuclear bomb, and a spaceman came here, and he came with an unconditional request that either you stop developing that nuclear program or we will destroy the Earth. That's what that movie was about. And Well, there was a remake of it that starred Keanu Reeves. I guess that's what I was thinking of, where it was environmental degradation instead of nuclear holocaust. Wait,
yeah.
Dan, you were thinking of the one in 2008. Like you say, that was a remix.
Yeah, I know.
But the original one in 1951 was about the nuclear bomb, and the spaceman came, and he told them.
I get it. So what are you saying? We're the spaceman? I don't get it. What's the point of the movie? The comparison?
What I'm saying is that Donald Trump has to destroy their program. He has to stop that program. We don't need we don't get involved with that regime change, you know.
Yeah.
Let them do that on their own. But we have to stop them from continuing their program to get that nuclear bomb, because once they get that bomb, that's it. And that'll give him credibility dealing with Putin, because Putin is still out there bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because he has lost his credibility. They waiting on these judges back here with all these injunctions, and they waiting on Congress to go against Donald Trump.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Lewis. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, do you think the Mullahs will seek out a sympathetic judge to get Trump to stop?
Yes, Trump is going to be enjoined from, ending Iran's nuclear program. Very good, George. I guess we get time for one more. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, hi, guys. I'm just wondering, where is the United Nations in all this, all the money we're paying to the United Nations? How are they handling all this?
Yeah, right. They're leading from behind as usual. Thanks, Glenn. All right, coming up at 6:06, we will get to the arguments going on inside the House, if you will, inside of the MAGA House, and some excerpts from that Ted and Tucker debate on topic. That's at 6:06.
Today we are going to have showers in some areas early this morning. Otherwise, it will be partly sunny by this afternoon, a high of 85 degrees. And then tomorrow, partly sunny, breezy in the afternoon, a high of 86. And your weekend looks very warm, highs near the upper 90s. And also, too, coming up, we'll tell you how much money we raised for Tunnel to Towers at our golf outing yesterday. Did you hit him well, Dan? Did you carry your team? He's tight-lipped. He'll let us know later. It is now 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Iran's supreme leader cannot continue to exist. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Israel's defense minister just said after more missiles from Iran got through Israel's Iron Dome defense. One hit a hospital, others hit residential areas. Dozens of Israelis were injured. Military spokesman Nadav Shoshani tells Fox.
This morning, we saw a preview of what could happen if we let Iran keep going this way. And their goal was to have thousands and thousands of these ballistic missiles on Israeli civilians. And on top of that, nuclear weapons.
Fox's Mike Tobin's at the scene of one missile strike in Tel Aviv.
And it's quite dramatic, the fact that there aren't more casualties because of these massive missiles that are crashing down. And that's largely because Israelis are respecting the warnings and heading to the bomb shelters. Now, there was also a missile that hit in the area of Tel Aviv in a town called, or a neighborhood, I should say, called Holon. That is an older residential area. And again, you have dramatically minimized casualties given the force of the impact.
Well, Israel continues to attack Iran, from missile sites to nuclear facilities, including one today that has a reactor for nuclear fuel. President Trump met with his national security team again and is considering having the U.S. join Israel.
If it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
The president says he hasn't made his decision yet, but Iran still wants to negotiate, even come to the White House, which an Iranian statement rejects, calling that a lie and despicable. The Trump administration is going to let foreign students apply for visas again to come here to study, but they'll be under more scrutiny than ever.
The applicants must make sure that all their social media profiles are visible to the public on the public setting. And if the profiles or the content remains private, it will be considered an effort to conceal and hide information and evade vetting. Fox is told that the vetting officers are keeping an eye out for signs of hostility towards several things, including citizens, culture, government institutions, and also the founding principles of the U.S.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. America's listening to...
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Chicago aldermen are approving a controversial snap curfew aimed at cracking down on teen takeovers in downtown. However, Mayor Johnson immediately said afterwards that he plans to veto the ordinance.
I will veto this ordinance because it is counterproductive to the progress that we have made in reducing crime and violence in our city. It would create tensions between residents and law enforcement at a time when we have worked so hard to rebuild that trust.
The council voted 27-22 to pass the ordinance yesterday. The measure gives the Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling the ability to issue curfews anytime, anywhere in the city within 30 minutes notice. Council members would need 34 votes to override the mayor's veto. 3 men are hospitalized after a stabbing attack at a skate park in Grant Park. The crime happened late Tuesday afternoon in the 1100 block of South Michigan Avenue. Police say an argument between the men occurred when one of them pulled out a sharp object and began stabbing the other two. The victims reportedly fought back and were able to disarm the attacker and stab him several times. The alleged offender was taken to the hospital in critical condition and has been taken into custody. One person is dead and a police officer wounded following a shootout at a hotel in northwest Indiana. Police say officers were called out yesterday morning to the Hilton Garden on Gateway Boulevard in Chesterton on a report of a suspicious person at a hotel who wasn't a guest. State police say officers confronted the person before gunfire was exchanged. The person was pronounced dead at the scene. A Chesterton police officer suffered a gunshot wound and was treated and released from the hospital. Indiana State Police detectives are investigating the incident. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
We're going to achieve over $1.5 trillion in savings. It's the largest amount of savings of any government that would ever be achieved in the history of mankind. I mean, it's a good start. It's not enough, but it's a good start.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/policy. That's ethos.com/policy.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active-duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
The Cane Table from Penny Mustard is more than just a table.
It's hosted countless brunches and long conversations with friends.
It's served as an emergency office on snow days or when the kids come down with the croup.
It's seen its fair share of crumbs between the leaves.
Or drool from the dog waiting for food to drop.
The Cane Table is made for signing important documents,
holding family meetings,
and painstakingly piecing together puzzles.
It's headquarters for homework,
craft projects,
board games,
and the wrapping of various gifts.
The Cane's Encore chairs have been used to relax,
to build blanket forts,
or to help reach something on the back of the top shelf.
It's not about food.
It's about memories.
So it's gotta last.
It's made in the Midwest, so it will.
For generations to come.
The Cane Dining Room Table with 6 Encore chairs starting at $61.97 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
From the Team Hofburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 8 minutes. Outbound, 9 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes. Outbound, about 7 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, about 11 minutes. Outbound, also 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Anthony DeGrotto State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, working to provide service and expertise when it comes to combining your home, auto, and life insurance. DeGrottosF.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A shower this morning early, then partly sunny. High today 85. Tonight partly cloudy, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy day on Saturday, much warmer. High Saturday at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get into the Ted versus Tucker debate on Iran, we do want to thank everybody who participated and or donated to the golf outing yesterday that we had at McRae. Thankfully, we were able to get it in. It's a little soggy, but we got it in.
Is your golf bag soaking wet?
It's fine.
You're going to be fine?
Yeah.
Good, yes.
I've
my group of
played it
ladies.
worse.
No, I'm not kidding. Not ladies. I love these guys. Christopher Morrow, all those guys were wonderful. They're from Home State Bank in Crystal Lake, so give them the business if you can. At one point in time, when it first started raining, Chris wanted to stop.
Well,
like, no, we're already wet. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, well, you have to
Play
understand, like me, Chris plays year-round, and so it's like, why would I play in bad weather? There's going to be a better day tomorrow. So
Exactly
when you play 200 rounds a year,
Oh, my
you're not going to miss a day of not playing in inclement weather. But it was good. I played with Mike Levitan, who I know for a million years, going back to New Trier Republican politics, and his sister and their peeps. And we ended up just the important thing.
Yes.
We raised $70,000 for Tunnel to Towers, and that's twice what we did last year.
I think it's more than that. Maybe 3 times what we did last
No,
year. It is twice?
Twice.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everyone who showed up and participated and donated, too, because it's going to a good cause, and we'll do it again next year.
And I do have to mention, I tweeted it out or X'd it out last
Yes.
night. Anthony DeGrotto, the State Farm guy, he had the most creative game. You got to check out this picture. It's on my X account. He had this chipping game. It's a huge truck size poster caricature cartoon of Pritzker eating a I don't know, meatball sandwich, and the game was to chip a fuzzy type of golf ball meatball into his mouth, and then DeGrotto Insurance would donate $200 to Tunnel to Towers, an additional $200 for everybody who did that. And
did you nail it?
I did hit it.
You did?
Yeah. But it was
for
genius. Very, very creative. So I did want to recognize the creativity. I always like artistry on a golf course.
Did you? I'm sure you carried your group.
Yeah, it was fine. He had another good player in the group, and it was
just one.
It was fine.
Yeah, I'm throwing my clubs away. I'm done golfing.
Oh, no more
here.
41s.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, shocking.
The guys I was with were probably shocked. I mean, they only used 2 of my drives, and I was a hot mess. A few of my putts, but did not appreciate my game yesterday at all.
Yeah, that's good. Room for improvement.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's getting back to the issue at hand. Just before we get to Tucker and Ted going back and forth, and it was a little petulant between the two of them. I was a little disappointed, actually, in the quality of the discussion. But
what is going on? Did they make out already? I mean, my gosh, there's so much tension there, but it's weird tension.
I just wanted to develop this Pakistan example for people to consider. Pakistan is one of the countries that has nuclear weapons, and America could have chosen to prevent that from happening back in the 70s and 80s. The backstory on this from a columnist over at the Wall Street Journal who writes on India and South Asia matters. So the little bit of the history, building on the little history we got, which most of you know, about Iran since the fall of the Shah from Newt yesterday. In the 70s, a Pakistani metallurgist stole centrifuge designs from the nuclear enrichment facility where he worked in the Netherlands. He took the designs to Pakistan, where he played a central role in the uranium enrichment program. In the 80s, China, Pakistan's closest ally, provided Islamabad with a tested nuclear bomb blueprint. Though U.S. intelligence agencies knew Pakistan was pursuing the bomb, they chose to look the other way. Washington needed Islamabad's help arming the Mujahideen in Afghanistan in the war against the Soviets in the 80s, Charlie Wilson's war, if you will. The conflict between American nonproliferation interests and broader strategic interests prevented the U.S. from blocking Islamabad's quest for the bomb. Israel also recognized the danger and offered India a solution. It was detailed in a 2007 book on the topic. Plans for a joint operation, Israel and India, to take out Pakistan's main nuclear plant in the early 1980s. Oh, Israel's not starting a war. They're trying to work with another country to prevent a nuclear Pakistan. Oh, interesting. Anyway, Israel had bombed Iraq's Ozark nuclear reactor in a daring mission in 1981. Pakistan too far for Israeli warplanes to reach. So the proposal involved Israeli planes taking off from an Indian air base close to the border with Pakistan, but it never happened. This is the opinion of this columnist, allowing Pakistan to acquire nuclear weapons was arguably India's worst national security blunder since independence in 1947. For decades, Indians have been forced to tolerate death by 1,000 cuts by dealing with Islamabad's support for terrorist groups. And retaliating, of course, could mean provoking a nuclear enemy. Nuclear Pakistan has also been a problem for the West, not just what I mentioned in terms of harboring Osama bin Laden and pretending they weren't. The complete lack of trustworthiness of the intelligence service in Pakistan, supposed to be an ally of convenience during the war in Afghanistan, not so much. 3 of the 4 terrorists responsible for the 2005 London bombings that killed 52 people had roots in Pakistan. The country's support for jihadism has made it a haven for Islamic militants around the world. In 2011, of course, the U.S. discovered bin Laden was hiding less than a mile from its leading military academy. And the father of the Pakistani bomb supplied nuclear know-how and parts to rogue states, including Iran, Libya, and North Korea. So now, at this point, it's difficult to see a path to ending Pakistan's possession of nuclear weapons. And that turns out to be a problem for us. Mm-hmm. So it's just instructive to think in a textured fashion about these things and not fall prey to the sort of paint by numbers arguments you hear from people that have mainly people that have an ideological bent for or against Israel, or have an ideological bent that is neo-isolationist in its essence. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So we had a little bit of a proxy discussion, or at least this was, I think, the point of it, between erstwhile supporters of President Trump who have different views about what Trump and the United States should do vis-a-vis Iran. So that's Ted and Tucker. And there were some interesting exchanges on topics that there didn't seem to be the requisite briefing on. They just were not particularly knowledgeable. It was actually a bit surprising. So, for example, there were a couple exchanges on the Iranians' efforts to advance assassination plots against President Trump. And this is how those went.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population.
No, that's not.
At all?
Yeah, but that was a catty moment. I thought that was just, it's set the stage for how this interview is going to go.
This is the most powerful country in the world. If you're calling for toppling in government, it's incumbent on you to know something about the country and to think through the consequences of that. And you haven't, and you don't. And I'm saying that's reckless.
Okay, you engage in reckless rhetoric with no facts. And to be clear,
I'm not calling for the overthrow of a government. You
put out a newsletter attacking Donald Trump and calling him complicit.
I've never attacked Donald Trump.
Yes, you have. And by the way,
I campaigned for Donald Trump.
Okay, yes.
And this is after anti-Semitism, this is the last refuge. You're an anti-Semite and you hate Trump.
Okay,
I love Trump.
I will read. You put out a whole newsletter saying Trump has abandoned America First. And here's what Trump said in response. Well, considering that I'm the one that developed America First and considering that the term wasn't used until I came along, I think I'm the one who decides that. For those people who say they want peace, you can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. So for all of those wonderful people who don't want to do anything about Iran having a nuclear weapon, that's not peace. That was directed at you.
Man, you got me. Busted.
No, I'm just saying.
Look, my views, look, I like Trump. I campaigned for Trump. I know Trump. I talked to him last night. I'm not against Trump, and you know that.
But you're against his foreign policy.
I think that we should be very careful about entering into more foreign wars that don't help us when our country is dying.
When you say
and our
don't
country
help
is
us,
dying.
Look, yes, focus on our country. I'm all for it. But the naivete.
You don't even know how much money this costs. You don't know anything about the country whose government you want to overthrow, and you're calling me reckless.
I want to stop a lunatic who wants to murder us from getting nuclear weapons that could kill millions of Americans.
Fair.
You say, I can't see how that benefits America in any way. That is bizarre.
Yeah, that's the last line there was a nice frame out by Cruz to say, this is my position and your position is that is not, dealing with a country that is allegedly dying. And the other things Tucker said, which of course he mentioned, he talked to Trump. We played earlier. Trump took a call from him, which Tucker apologized for some of the things he said. Don't know what, but he certainly was talking about the idea that if President Trump backed the Israeli nuclear strikes against the Iranians, that this would be the end of his presidency and the end of the empire, and $30 a gallon gasoline and all sorts of other horrors would be immediately visited upon the West. And the position Tucker is taking, the positions he's articulating, it is a little bizarre. So that's sort of the baseline. And then another example where this just got strange, going back to what I said before here, the assassination attempts, the Iranians have been behind. The assassination attempts against Trump, the Iranians have been behind. And Tucker seems to be completely oblivious to this reality, and Ted Cruz was a little light on the receipts.
I'm asking about your allegation and the Prime Minister of Israel's allegation that Iran is trying to murder the president.
Killing terrorists is a good thing. Killing people who are trying to murder Americans is a good thing. Because if you're America first, you want to protect America. And so killing Osama bin Laden was a fantastic day for the world.
But you don't really believe that they're trying to murder Trump, or you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Then why aren't you calling for military action against Tehran right now?
Because they're not very effective. In terms of hitmen, their hitmen are not very effective. I do think...
So they're hitmen, but not the bad kind, the efficient kind?
No,
what are you saying?
They're a weak country who is on its knees, and I think we need to...
Then why are we so afraid of them? Why are they the biggest threat if they're a weak country that's on its knees?
Because they're trying...
I'm trying to keep track.
They're trying to develop... Be a little less snarky.
I know, you're right. That is a problem that I have. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, just on the substance of it, I mean, this is from November of last year. The government brought charges against an Afghan national in connection with an alleged Iranian plot to assassinate Trump before he was elected. Department of Justice unsealing an indictment against a 51-year-old alleged he was tasked with providing a plan to kill Trump. This is in November of last year. It was under Biden's Department of Justice. So what do you mean? Because it goes on from there, and there doesn't seem to be knowledge of this, that this is like breaking news to Tucker Carlson, and then he's suggesting if this is true, and I don't know it's true, but if this is true, then we should immediately be going nuclear, literally, on Iran, which is a bizarre position to take for somebody who is supposedly so America first that he wants to ignore what the Iranians are doing.
But I just want to pull that thread because it's so important. I voted for Donald Trump. I campaigned for Donald Trump. Yeah. He's our president. And we're on the cusp of a war. So if there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that, where's that? Like, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Where's the evidence? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
That's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because we have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for the last 2 years.
We meaning who?
Congress has, and the public. I mean, we had multiple testimonies. I can send you testimony.
Do we know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We do not. We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States?
Yes. And by the way, like Iran...
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
Right, but I've never heard evidence that there are hitmen in the United States. I mean, trying to kill Trump right now. We should have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true. Don't you think?
No.
If they're trying to assassinate our president?
They have been for 2 years.
Then why are we at war with them?
We are trying to.
Why don't we just nuke Tehran if they're trying to murder our president? There's nothing that you could do that would be worse for the United States than murdering Trump. And I just don't understand why you're not calling for the use of nuclear weapons against the Ayatollah right now. I'm serious. If you really believe they're trying to murder...
The use of nuclear weapons... See,
whatever
that's part
it
of the
takes.
problem of...
So what do you mean? You don't seem to take the allegations seriously. I do. If you believe they're trying to murder Trump, we need to stop what we're doing and punish them.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I don't know what's going on with Tucker Carlson, but he is really given to wild flights of fancy. one direction and then 180 degrees the other direction.
Is he being sarcastic? And if they're trying to kill them, we should bomb them right away. We nuke Tehran. I don't know what he's doing.
We have this indictment from November, and we have other intel that Cruz referenced generally, and it should come as no surprise. They're one of many threats President Trump and other elected officials face. This is why we have Secret Service and so forth. The idea that we should go from, again, turning a blind eye, focusing on this country that's dying, to nuclear war. I think Tucker is suggesting that this isn't true. And so if it were true, this is what we should be doing. And since we're not doing this, you don't believe it and I don't believe it. And so that supports my position. And it really just doesn't.
I don't think Trump should be taking phone calls from Tucker Carlson right now.
Keep
his nose to the ground and stay in the Situation Room.
This was another interesting exchange because, of course, Tucker's been accused of being an anti-Semite. I'm not accusing him of that, but he's legitimized some people that are certainly dubious, and just some of the things he is saying these days. This was about, this was Tucker's effort to explore the sort of philosophical basis for Ted Cruz's support of Israel, and it led to this exchange.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
the
God's referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected...
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like... America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
is there. Silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
That's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
Well, Cruz should be a little bit more up to date on his biblical citations, but let's take Tucker's point that the interpretation of that passage in Genesis means in terms of those who bless Israel will be blessed, those who curse Israel will be cursed, means the Israeli people, the Jewish people. Well, the response that Ted Cruz should have offered is, right, and you have a state named Iran that is pursuing the annihilation of those people. So how do you not intercede on their behalf? If you believe that, if that's an animating belief of yours, then how do you not intercede? Coming up at 6:36, we'll take a cleansing breath on matters Middle East and talk interest rates and markets with John Tamny, RealClearMarkets.com.
But now let's, head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Members of Congress are calling for a coordinated evacuation plan for Americans in Israel.
It comes as Israel and Iran have been locked in conflict for nearly a week, with both countries trading missiles and all eyes on President Trump to see if he steps in. In a bipartisan letter, New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer and fellow Intelligence Committee members urged the President and Secretary of State Marco Rubio to share what concrete steps they are taking to get Americans out of Israel. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Free is always better than paying. Kroger stores are celebrating the summer solstice tomorrow by giving away free ice cream.
Kroger stores are giving away free ice cream Friday to celebrate the start of summer. There will be competition to get the needed coupon for the limited edition Summer in a Pint giveaway. There are more than 2,700 Kroger grocery stores in the U.S., and the company's giving out 92,000 coupons. You can have a go on Friday starting at noon Eastern Time by going to freekrogericecream.com. I'm Bree Tennis.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher is witnessing evil.
A guy from Egypt screaming Free Palestine named Mohammed, lighting Jews on fire in Boulder, Colorado, and CNN is upset at calling what appears to be an obvious terror attack a terror attack. My gosh, this is what we're up against. We're up against a brand of evil that we've never seen before.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hassles. I'm Weston. What's your question?
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
The best way to remove urine from a mattress is to trade in that old mattress for a new Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hassles Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. And that's on top of our everyday low prices.
Come on, everybody says lowest prices.
Others sell a Sealy Posturepedic Queen Emeryville A mattress for $1268. Hassles sells it for $1034. But through Monday, it's just $786. And check out the low prices on Beautyrest and more. Plus, free next day delivery.
What does my friend do with his old soaked mattress?
We haul it away for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassles.com.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa, would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this epoxy? So smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is, but...
Man, I've been thinking about getting an epoxy coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, huh. That's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards with the most durable flooring solutions at highly competitive prices. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor. Now, with a spring special, just mention Amy Jacobson to receive $500 off any new project. Visit level10coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
Progressive Insurance. Progressive can protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. In short, a lot of things. Bundle today at progressive.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound, about 26 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 16 minutes. Outbound, about 22 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, about 12 minutes. This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Tired of feeling alone in your job search? With one connection, you can find endless job opportunities. That connection is Express Employment Professionals. Don't go to it alone. Visit ExpressPros.com to find the location nearest you. That's ExpressPros.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A shower early this morning, then partly sunny for today, high 85. Partly cloudy for tonight, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy, a hot one on Saturday, the high at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, amid all of the focus on the situation in the Middle East with Israel and Iran and what President Trump might do, we did hear from Jay Powell, and Trump did take judicial notice of Jay Powell moving to keep interest rates the same, which is not something he wanted. He's been complaining about Powell's lack of alacrity when it comes to cutting rates. And Powell said in the decision to keep rates the same, and I'm just going through all this interest rate stuff because I know it's going to enrage our next guest. Jay Powell said, we haven't been through a situation like this and think we have to be humble about our ability to forecast it. There are many, many different scenarios where inflation does and doesn't prove out to be at the levels we think, where the labor market does or doesn't soften. Wow. We have to be humble about our ability to forecast it. That's a phrase you don't hear from our experts, our bettors, the mystics on the board of the Fed very often. Is this some real newfound humility based on a review of, I don't know, the last decade? Probably go back much further than that, but let's just focus on the last decade of Fed policy. Does any of it matter? John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarkets.com and author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I know we had you on because I know you love to talk about Jay Powell and his importance.
Yes, well, as we've discussed before, prices are an effect of global cooperation of millions of hands and machines around the world combining to make things. The idea that the Fed could do anything with interest rates to affect the direction of prices one way or the other It's just not serious. And it amazes me, as always, as I always say, in the future, they'll marvel at how seriously we took the Fed in the past.
But you're. This is not to say that monetary policy doesn't matter to you.
Well, monetary policy, dollar policy matters because the dollar is the world's currency.
Right.
The only thing is the dollar's exchange value has never been part of the Fed's portfolio. There's this myth that ever since the Fed was created in 1913, the dollar plummeted in value. Well, no, that's actually not what happened. In 1933, FDR decided to devalue the dollar. The Fed chairman, Eugene Meyer, begged him not to do it. In fact, he resigned over it and bought the Washington Post as a vehicle to criticize this inflationary president. But he had no control over what FDR did. Fed chairman Arthur Burns in 1971 begged President Nixon, do not sever the dollar's link to gold. That's a devaluation.
Right.
Nixon ignored him. Presidents get the dollar they want. Devaluations are as old as money is that they well predate central banks. And so this focus on them and their, quote, monetary policy is a waste of time. Where there's production, there's always money.
And so when we think about the Fed, sort of the libertarian push to audit the Fed that Ron Paul was behind for so many years, is that a fruitless discussion? To the extent we have a discussion about the Fed, should it just be whether or not it should be eliminated? And anything short of that is irrelevant?
Yeah. What does the Fed do? The Fed tries to set an interest rate. Well, the interest rate's the most important price in the world, which tells you the Fed sets nothing. Markets set interest rates. There's an interest rate for every person and business on the planet Earth. The Fed regulates banks. Oh, how'd that work out? The Fed doesn't have a purpose, and that's why it keeps searching for one. But that's government. Let's not act like the Fed is somehow different here. But the idea of auditing it, sure. But what are you going to get from that? Problem is Fed's here in the first place. But that's true of a lot of government entities.
On the fiscal policy side, your view on one or both versions of the big, beautiful bill and what sort of impact the combination of, mainly it's the tax relief and an extension of SED. There's some other things that are interesting, like the federal school choice program. And there are some things that are troubling, too, like the amount of spending. But you're net on the big, beautiful bill.
I think it's vastly overrated. Isn't it interesting that the, quote, media, they keep saying that it's just a big tax break for the rich. But if you look at the bill, it's largely a tax break for poor and middle earners, which is a sign that it's not a growth-oriented bill, precisely because they will consume what they get back. There's no growth in that. Growth is from investment. And that's why if you really want to grow the economy, you reduce the burden on the rich. But these bills, both in 2017 and now, target the rich. I'm a libertarian. I think the vast majority of taxation should be local, cities and states. And I think it should be so encouraged that we have government and taxation in cities and states that we should allow people to credit what they throw to cities and states against what they send to federal. Republicans don't want that. They want more money flowing to Washington, at which point they're looking to try to largely keep the state and local tax deduction low. Well, okay, that means that the richest Americans in Illinois, California, New York, throw Texas in here, throw Florida in here, will pay more taxes to the federal government because they have a lot more local taxes that they send to their states that they can no longer deduct against federal, which means we grow the federal government even more.
Well, yeah, but the flip side is it's the 50 laboratories of democracy, and if you want to live in a failed state named Illinois or California, New York, and pay confiscatory taxes, well, then that's your choice.
Precisely, but that makes my point. That's where you want the taxation to be. I want the mistakes of California to stay in California. Right. I do not want California money to flow to the federal government where they can damage us. Government spending is bad. It's the central planning of resources. So as much as possible, we want that to occur in these laboratories so people can see the failures of. You can kind of put a fence around the laboratories. And so my thing, once again, is, look, I want growth, but if you want growth, you can't tax the H out of the rich. And the Trump tax cuts in 2017 and now, they are not tax cuts for the rich. Anecdote is a terrible thing, but I have yet to meet a rich person who didn't see a big tax increase under Trump. Is that pro-growth? No. Is that a way to limit government by flowing even more money to Washington? I think not.
Well, which version do you like better, the House or Senate's version of the big, beautiful bill?
I like the House's better, probably because, well, two reasons. For one, the House at least tried.
Hire
the
salt.
New York congressman to hire salt. And to be clear, I'm not one of the rich guys. But see, I want rich people to keep their money in the states. That's where taxation should occur. That's where all the dumb spending should occur, not federally. And so the House I probably like a little bit better. But, these are all bad. We always knew this.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan wanted to cut government. But he realized when he got into office that every single program has at least one Republican constituent. And so it's really hard to reduce spending. That's why I don't want entitlement reform. Because if you do that, what if you saved a lot of money? Are they going to burn it up? No, they're going to discover new ways to spend it. No act of reducing government spending cuts actually reduces government. It just flows it to new ideas. I'd rather the damage, we keep the damage where it is and just stop the flow of money into Washington. But no one agrees with me.
You mean just take an approach that is more sort of in the subsidiarity tradition? It's just have most of these matters dealt with at the state and local, at the government closest to the people.
Yeah, that's where you want it. It's harder to waste money the closer the politician is the person. But when they're in Washington, it's kind of hard to watch what they're doing there. And I just somehow the Republicans and their desire to nail those blue states, those bad blue states, have missed the point. Governor Pritzker, Governor Newsom, they are offering the red states the ultimate giveaway. We will contain all the damage of government in our states, and we will help you keep that money from reaching Washington. Instead of jumping all over that, we have Republicans saying, no, you get that money to Washington. We don't want the SALT deduction will lead to a revenue loss. There's a cost associated with that. Well, really? Since when do we work for the federal government?
Yeah. No, I mean, I do hear what you're saying. It's a good argument. There's but the political angle is, you certainly believe incentives matter, and the political angle is, well, the way to change people's behavior is with a carrot or a stick, and this is a stick.
Yeah, but it's a stick that. Why does Washington always have to be the winner of the stick?
Why? I hear you.
This means that more money's getting to Washington. I want, if California sucks so bad, and that's what our saying, well, then let it suck, and let the people who choose high taxation locally pay their high taxes and contain the damage by sending less money to Washington. We keep talking about debt and all this, and oh my gosh, it's so scary. Well, why do you think we have so much debt? Do investors lend to people who have a lot of revenue or very little? The national debt is an effect of way too much money flowing to Washington. Yet the happy talkers from our side keep saying, well, if we just get more revenue, we'll pay off the debt. No. More tax revenue is why we have the debt. And until people realize that, it's just going to grow and grow. America is going to get richer and richer. The federal government will have more and more money, and it will borrow more. If you have me on 20 years from now, guaranteed if we continue on this path, the debt will be much higher. Will we be in a world of hurt, as all the people, the skulls say? No. But the federal government will be bigger.
You mentioned some of the provisions. I think you're insinuating some provisions that are not particularly growth oriented. That would include things like no taxes on tips up to $25,000, no taxes on overtime up to, I think, $12,500. Right? Those are the sorts of things you're talking about.
Yeah, and to be clear about that, I will literally run to an ATM machine to not tip a waiter on the credit card. I think that's so mean to do that to them. I always tip in cash, and it drives family members of mine nuts, but I always do it.
Are you a good tipper?
I am, because I love and especially since the lockdowns, my tips have gone way up because I saw what these guys did. These people have their little businesses, and politicians rob them of their businesses. So I go out of my way.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. No taxes on tips. There's no growth in that.
Right.
Because, again, they don't earn a lot of money. They're going to spend it. Consumption doesn't drive growth. Investment drives growth.
Right. But that's where I was going. But, so I understand it's not growth oriented. But what about the argument that, look, any amount of money that we're able to allow people to keep for themselves and not have to tithe the state, that's a good policy. Whatever we can do to keep more money in the hands of people that earned it, it's good. And even if it's a bit of a meatball Sunday because some people are getting a break and other people are not, and the tax code is Byzantine and unknowable and so forth, I get all those criticisms. But where we can, if we can put money in the hands of keep money in the hands of the people that earned it, that is a good thing, even if it is not a growth thing.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you all day. I want them to reduce taxes every which way they can. So I don't think it's growth-oriented, but I want it. I just want what you've just said applied to rich people. I don't see why they owe so much more than we do.
Yeah.
And so I want – because think about if I get a tax cut, I've got bills to pay. It's just that simple. And good. I want to keep more of what I earn. If Jeff Bezos gets a tax cut, he has no choice but to invest it. And there are no companies, no jobs, there are no entrepreneurs without investment. Jeff Bezos, the future Jeff Bezos, can't innovate without capital. And so when you reduce the tax burden on the rich, the growth effects of it and the freedom effects of it are enormous.
Well, I mean, he's got that big wedding coming up. And, and I mean, so that's not going to be nothing. Yeah. He's going to have to spend.
It's true. It's true.
And I don't,
Are you on the list, Dan?
And I don't know if everybody will, leave a check that covers the cost of their dinner or not for him. I mean, I don't know.
What's he doing he's too rich to get married. What's he doing?
That's exactly.
I'd love to see the registry.
Yeah. You know what's funny, John? That's exactly what I say about myself, and I'm nowhere near as rich as Jeff Bezos. John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey,
heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
When a tree comes down, it doesn't just make a mess. It can crush your home, a car, cause serious injury, or worse. If you're seeing dead or hanging branches, your tree could be a ticking time bomb. Don't wait until it's too late. Call Abbott Tree Care, the emergency tree removal experts. That's ABBOTT. We're trusted across the western suburbs. On call 24/7, fully insured, and ready to respond fast after any storm. Whether it's a downed tree, tree trimming, or tree removal, Abbott Tree Care does the job right. Safely, professionally, and without cutting corners. Protect your home. Protect your family. Call Abbott Tree Care now for a free estimate at 630-681-8733 and tell them AM 560 sent you. Again, that's 630-681-8733 or go to AbbottTreeCare.com. That's ABBOTT treecare.com. Abbott Tree Care. When danger's hanging over your head, we're here when you need us most.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
AM 560, The Answer.
Very exciting news coming out of the Department of Health and Human Services. Very, very exciting news. Finally, somebody's been reading my letters. The updated dietary guidelines for Americans, which could be released as early as this month,
this is the
are
blues.
expected to include a brief statement encouraging Americans, drink in moderation, blah, blah, blah. But importantly, they're going to remove the
the guideline that suggests 1 to 2 drinks
a day
is somehow magical. Exactly. It's like speed limits. Show me the evidentiary support. You don't have any, do you? You're just saying that. He's moderation. I don't know. What's that? 1 to 2 drinks. Maybe that's moderate for you.
Yeah, but
maybe it's not moderate for this guy. And so let me decide what is moderate for me. Thank you for freeing me from those chains, RFK Jr.
Oh, my God. What baby steps. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest at 7:07.
It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Israel plans to ramp up the attacks on Iran. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After another barrage of missiles hit Israel,
Iran targets civilians. We target an existential threat that endangers global security, and we will prevail.
Brigadier General Efi Defrin, Israel's health ministry, says at least 240 people were injured.
Iranian missiles struck multiple locations across Israel, including a hospital in Beersheba, where dozens were injured. In Holon, an apartment block has been left with its roof caved in. Rescue workers are combing through the debris. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised revenge against what he calls the tyrants in Israel's capital, Tehran.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. He means Iran's capital, Tehran. President Trump's considering getting the U.S. involved, taking out Iran's nuclear capabilities. Fox's Peter Doocy reports from the White House.
I've been told, and talking to folks around here, that it is possible some Iranian negotiators could come here to the White House as soon as next week. But there are logistical problems getting the people who would be negotiating out of wherever they're hiding in Iran, out of the country, and then to the White House. And the way President Trump is looking at this, every time Israel strikes inside Iran, the Iranians have less leverage.
They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them.
Hurricane Eric has just made landfall along Mexico's southwest coast, but that's the eye finally hitting. Fox Weather's Britta Merwin says it's a technicality. The eye's been finally hitting land.
It's been making landfall all night, and they have been through just probably terrifying moments overnight in Mexico.
Eric was a Category 4. Now it has 125-mile-an-hour winds, with flooding a concern in resort areas. Another failure for SpaceX.
Whoa!
The new Starship rocket didn't even get off the ground.
No!
That was during NASA's live stream. The rocket exploded on the launch pad in Texas. 3 recent SpaceX test flights of the Starship led to failure and loss of the spacecraft. America's listening.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Chicago aldermen are approving the SNAP curfew that was aimed at cracking down on teen takeovers in downtown. The council voted 27-22 to pass the ordinance yesterday. However, Mayor Johnson immediately said afterwards that he plans to veto the measure. The ordinance gives Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling the ability to issue curfews anytime, anywhere in the city within 30 minutes notice. Council members would need 34 votes to override the mayor's veto. A judge is denying a request to overturn the conviction of a man found guilty of the Starved Rock killings. Chester Weger spent more than 60 years in prison when he was convicted of killing one of 3 Chicago area women found slain at Starved Rock State Park in 1960. He was paroled for good behavior in 2020. His attorneys sought to overturn his conviction with DNA evidence and new witness testimony. However, the judge ruled that the witness's testimony was based on hearsay and didn't come from an actual eyewitness to the murders. A Chicago man faces charges after crashing into an IDOT truck on the Dan Ryan Expressway. State police say that officers responded early this past Sunday to I-94 and 83rd Street after a Hyundai Sonata rear-ended an Illinois Department of Transportation truck. The driver of the Hyundai, Edward Gilbert, and his passenger were both taken to a hospital with serious injuries. Gilbert was also charged with aggravated driving under the influence, accident causing great bodily harm, and possession of a weapon. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder addresses our debt.
Here's the problem. Both parties spend money. They may have different priorities, but both parties spend money. The other big problem is that much of the government spending is on automatic pilot. By that, I'm talking about Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector. Or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos. Fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/policy. That's ethos.com/policy.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active-duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago immune support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, 14 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 18 minutes, outbound about 55 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 27 minutes, outbound is about 18 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes, outbound is about 30 minutes. On the Dan Bryan, inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 12 minutes, outbound is about 11 minutes. This traffic update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need a last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A shower this morning early, then partly sunny. High today 85. Tonight partly cloudy, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy day on Saturday, much warmer. High Saturday at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. John Daniel Davidson, writing in The Federalist, neocon Iraq war rhetoric is back, lazily repurposed for Iran. He writes, it's a slam dunk case. We have to fight them over here so we don't fight them. We have to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. We'll be greeted as liberators. Islam is a religion of peace. Either you're with us or you're with the terrorists. God has planted in every heart the desire to live in freedom. Those last two are direct quotes from W. Over the past few days, writes Davidson, almost since the moment Israel began bombing Iran, we've seen the reappearance of almost all of the old Gulf War rhetoric. Then as now, the purpose is to justify U.S. military adventure abroad and gaslight the American people into supporting regime change in Iran. Well, I think that's a little bit lazy, ironically. You know, so for all the neocons' lazy rhetoric is back. Well, I think that's a bit of a lazy response to the alleged lazy rhetoric, which is to say, nobody's running around saying we're going to be greeted as liberators, because nobody, with perhaps the exception of Lindsey Graham, is suggesting that troops be deployed to Tehran. That's number one, and that's like a big difference. Number two, the president is not talking about regime change. In fact, here's what he actually said yesterday.
Some of the people in the base don't want a long-term war. They're afraid that we're going to get into a long-term war.
We're not looking for a long-term war. We're looking. I only want one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Right. That's it. I'm not looking long-term, short-term. And I've been saying that for 20 years. I've been saying it as a civilian who got a lot of publicity. People would cover it. Very simply, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. It's not a question of anything else. And if you did, you wouldn't have much of a country, because they would use it on us and they'd use it on other people, and there'd be a terror all over the world.
So it's a very limited in scope based on what the president is saying, and as he points out, has been saying for some time. To the extent that like wanting regime change as Iran is a bad thing, well, of course it's not a bad thing. It's just how you design to go about doing it. I want peaceful pluralists in Iran to take over and elevate peaceful pluralists to the leadership of their country. That's not the same thing as saying I want to deploy American troops to try to affect that and, you know, build a Midwestern democracy in Iran overnight. We have learned those lessons. So you can learn some lessons, but not be so naive as to believe that Iran is a country to sort of turn a blind eye to, which seems to be the position of those within the MAGA House who are arguing against supporting this bombing campaign that Israel has started against Iranian nuclear sites for the purposes of limiting their nuclear program. So sort of falling back on an argument about intelligence they don't know. And I'm not saying I have a better handle on it necessarily, but they should say with more definitiveness that Iran is nowhere close to a nuclear weapon. They've been saying that for 30 years. Talk about lazy talking points. A lot has transpired in those 30 years that it's been reported. As we talked about earlier this week, there have been any number of interventions, strategic interventions to slow the pace of the Iranian nuclear program. The Stuxnet virus comes to mind, and it's an easy one people remember. And I'm sure many more efforts by Mossad and by our intelligence community to do the same that we don't know about. But when we talk about lazy arguments, the people that are just sort of throwing up their hands and saying any sort of intervention to stop an enemy of the West in general and America in particular is somehow getting into a forever war, is engaging in nation building, that's what's lazy to me.
And it's just truly unimaginable how leftists are now supporting this regime. They had a protest in New York yesterday. I mean, it's a regime that hangs women for not properly veiling and gay people for being gay.
If they support Hamas, why wouldn't they support Hamas' sponsor? Of course they're going to. That's what the left does. Yanam Cohen is the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. He joins us now. Consul General Cohen, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
The perspective and what you've heard from Trump, and basically it seems to me that he sort of put the Ayatollah on the clock, that in the next few days there has to be some movement, or he is going to fold in and provide support to Israel to finish the job with respect to the key sites in Iran's nuclear program. Is that your belief?
I've been following President Trump's remarks over the past 48 hours, and I'm looking forward to see what his decision is. And I'm sure that whatever he decides, that he'll take the choice that is better for America, that is best for America.
Well, what choice is that?
I want to say at the same time that Israel has started its operation in Iran 7 days ago, and we are operating on our own right now, and we do not have any expectation from any other country to fight for us. We're doing the right thing for us. We're doing the right thing, we believe, for the Middle East, for the whole world. But we believe that it's our job to do that. Now, if the United States chooses to join forces, that, of course, we will welcome that. But this is not what we're asking right now. But I want to say something broader about that, because I totally heard some of the remarks that you quoted about some of the arguments of people regarding our operation. And I want to say that we're not waging war now. We're conducting an operation that aims to prevent a much more destructive war down the line, maybe even within a few months. But imagine that if we wait, it might be against a nuclear-armed Iran, which will make it much more dangerous, much more destructive, and much longer. And this is why we're acting now.
Well, let's get into some of that and provide perhaps you can provide some additional depth to the responses to some of the critics, and as well as those expressing legitimate concerns that are just concerned and are concerned in a good faith way. So the precipice of an Iran with nuclear weapons. The intel that Israel has, that Bibi has shared, generally speaking, prior to launching this campaign, as you described it, was what?
We know that Iran has worked for more than 20 years now on enriching its uranium. What we've seen over the past few weeks is that while negotiating with the United States, they did not do that in good faith. They were rushing into weaponizing their enriched uranium. In other words, to convert it into actual nuclear bomb. At the same time, they were also accelerating their efforts to build up their ballistic missiles arsenal. The ballistic missiles that have been launched towards Israel over the past 7 days and have caused very, very significant damage. Now, imagine that not just 40 or 45 Iranian missiles hit Israel, but 200 or 500 missiles. Or imagine that even only one missile hit Israel, but with a nuclear warhead. That could be really devastating, and this is why we're acting now. And by the way, let me say just one more word about their efforts with regard to the ballistic missiles, because amongst other things, we have seen that they have started to develop intercontinental missiles. In other words, missiles that are capable of hitting not only Israel, the Middle East, and Europe, but also the United States.
And so to the people that say, Consul General, I can appreciate that, but this is something we've been reading in the New York Times since the late '90s. So why should we believe that that's actually the case? We've been on the precipice for 2 decades. Why are we really now on the precipice this time as opposed to previous times?
First, because they have accelerated their efforts to enrich uranium, and right now we believe they have enough enriched uranium in the highest level, that is enough for 9 nuclear bombs. And at the same time, for the first time, we have identified activity to weaponize this enriched uranium and convert it into a nuclear bomb. Now, we have to understand why the Iranians are doing that now. Over the past 20 years, they have worked into parallel routes, I would say. The first one is their nuclear path, and the other one was the regional malign activity. They have built what they called the Ring of Fire, a network of terrorist proxy organizations that was supposed to encircle Israel, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Islamic Jihad in the West Bank and Gaza, the Shiite militias in Syria and Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, and they were supposed to be the tool for Iran to challenge Israel, to challenge Israel's security, and to attack Israel. This was what Hamas did on October 7th, and this is why they expected Hezbollah and others to do. Now, since Hezbollah was very severely hit by Israel, and since the Assad regime in Syria collapsed, Iran lost some of its major assets in the region, in the Middle East. And they're feeling that having nuclear weapons would be, a significant tool to deter Israel and to deter the United States. But this is a very, very dangerous game.
Something else that Prime Minister Netanyahu said, and has become an issue of debate. He said in a conversation with Bret Baier that Iran was behind the 2 failed assassination attempts against President Trump last year. That's what he seemed to indicate. And Baier asked for clarification, and he basically said, Bibi said, yeah, we have through proxies, Iran was involved, and through their intel, yes, they want to kill him. What he knows. I mean, that's so we know, and we discussed earlier in the program about the one plot that was connected to Iran where an arrest was made of an Afghan national in November of last year. But what Prime Minister Netanyahu had to say about their involvement in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the West Palm attempts on the president's life, what more can you tell us about sort of the evidentiary basis to make that claim?
I don't have any further information about that, but for me, it's very clear. Let's look at on a broader perspective. Israel for them is a small Satan. The United States is a big Satan. We just stand in their way to America because America is a big Satan for them. So it is clear that the ultimate goal of the mullah radical regime in Iran is the United States, because you are the symbol of freedom and democracy. You embody all the values of Western liberal democracies that they hate so much. And this is why it's not only about Israel, it's about Europe and about our shared values.
Trump said yesterday that the mullahs want to meet and they want to come to the White House, and he may acquiesce to that. Do you think that would be a good idea?
Well, they said that they're not coming to the White House. Yeah. They're not ready to negotiate with the United States. I prefer, of course, we all prefer diplomacy to any other means, to military operations, but diplomacy have worked with the Iranians for more than 20 years. Just recently, President Trump himself very personally dedicated a lot of efforts to find a way to a diplomatic solution with Iran that would prevent us all from, doing what we're doing right now. But I haven't seen any success. The Iranians never negotiated in good faith. As I said, while negotiating with President Trump, they were rushing their nuclear ambitions and their build-up of their missile ballistic arsenals. So this is something that we have to bear in mind.
Yeah, Iranian social media. No Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House.
That's just
the only thing more despicable than his lies is his cowardly threat.
Yeah, that's just their bull jive. I mean, of course that's their, just like we're never going to surrender and we're never going to do this and we're, the great state, all that stuff. I don't, the hyperventilation is uninteresting to me. What's interesting is whether or not there's any point in terms of diplomatic conversation. And Bibi has clearly indicated there isn't. And we've seen that too, to a large extent with Putin. And so the question is it even, is it almost Pollyannish to entertain any more conversation, because it's clear all they're doing is trying to stall, to regroup or come up with another angle of attack?
Oh, absolutely. That's been the strategy for 20 years. And I think that now is the time to make sure that when we're not in the 10th hour. We're in the 11th hour, or some say in the 12th hour. This is the very last moment that we can stop Iran, prevent Iran from having nuclear bombs. We want to see a peaceful Iran. We want to see a peaceful Middle East. But, the one country that has destabilized the Middle East over the past 20 years is Iran. Now imagine this power coupled with nuclear arms. That would be devastating, not just for Israel, not just for the Middle East, globally. And this is what we're doing right now.
And the last part of the tweet that was just put on social media, it said Trump's cowardly threat to take out Iran's supreme leader. Do you think if the Ayatollah was eliminated that and the regime changed, that would be a positive thing? And who would take his place?
Our goal in this operation is to prevent Iran from having nuclear bombs and from a much more massive arsenal of ballistic missiles. We're not looking at the regime change, but I mean, if there is a regime change in Iran, of course, it will be a very positive step because this regime that has taken, control over the Iranians in 1979 has brought only devastation, destruction, terror, and war, not only to the Iranians, but to the whole Middle East. So I think that any change in this regime will be a very positive step.
With respect to Khamenei, there was a report that Israeli source confirms the report from Iran International that has obtained information from a Western intelligence source, according to which Khamenei has been removed from making key decisions to his poor mental state, and military commanders are hiding the reality of the war from him in order to manage his mental state. Do we have a incapacitated Ayatollah in Tehran?
It's not just about one person. It's about the whole construction, the whole hierarchy that surrounds him. And while I would say major leadership of this hierarchy was eliminated in the past few days, there are still some very radical people who are taking the decision, whether with the involvement of Khamenei or not.
But I mean, do you know if he's still the shot caller or if he is in cognitive decline, a phrase we've come to know and love?
I don't have any information that I can share at this point.
Okay, or that I can share. Okay. Yenem Cohen is the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. Consul General Cohen, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And yep, thanks. Have a good day. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
All right, focus on your health and ask yourself, are you still in pain? Do you have chronic pain due to arthritis or an injury? Pain, in your hips, your knees, your elbows, your shoulders? Well, if that's the case and you don't want surgery, call our good friends at QC Kinetics. It's regenerative medicine. These are not quick fixes. It's a revolutionary treatment that works to give your body long-term relief. You'll meet with medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli and her team. They'll explain how their regenerative treatments take your body's own healing power and helps restore damaged tissue. They've helped tens of thousands of people. No masking the pain, no drugs, again, no surgery, no downtime. They're going to go after the very source of your pain. So say goodbye to that chronic pain and live your best life. Do it today. Be proactive. It is a free consultation. They'll walk you through the process and decide whether or not you are a candidate for regenerative medicine. Contact our friends at QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
You've worked hard and accumulated wealth, but you know the pitfalls involved in passing significant assets to your heirs. The team at Spahn Financial will help you feel secure with personalized financial planning to achieve your legacy goals. They anticipate and manage all your wealth planning needs and focus on the full financial picture, including tax efficiency, income distribution throughout retirement, philanthropic giving, estate planning, and more. They even help you prepare the next generation to be good stewards. Kevin Spahn is a 2025 Barron's Top 1200 financial advisor, and Spahn Financial is a Forbes Best in State Wealth Management team. Visit SpahnFinancial.com to schedule a consultation and to view disclosures. That's SPAHN Financial.com. Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisors list, March 2025. Data as of 9/30/2024. Forbes Best in State Wealth Management team, January 2025. Data as of 3/31/24. No compensation provided for ratings. Marketing fees apply to promote ratings. Rankings and recognitions are no guarantee of future investment success.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donnelly Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donnelly Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donnelly does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The Supreme Court weighs in on states regulating transing of minors. We'll discuss at 7:37.
But now let's head into that newsroom and say hello once again to Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 67 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Intel plans to lay off 15 to 20% of its factory workforce starting in July, which could result in over 10,000 job losses globally. It will affect primarily factory workers and microchip research developers. While the exact number of Intel factory workers and developers is unknown, estimates suggest the layoffs will impact about half of its 109,000 employees. The cuts follow declining sales and a reported $821 million loss in the first quarter of this year. No voluntary buyouts will be offered. They're saying the mass deportations could harm California's economy.
A new report from the Bay Area Council Economic Institute reveals deportations could cost the state about $275 billion.
These workers make up 33% of the state's farm workers and 26% of construction laborers. And I mean, these are jobs that are just critical to California's economy and infrastructure.
That's Abby Reyes with the Bay Area Council. 61% of construction workers in the state are immigrants, and nearly 2/3 of the state's agricultural workforce are immigrants of any status. According to the report, undocumented workers also contribute about 5% to the state's economic output and pay over $23 billion in taxes annually. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
News is a service of Air Ride Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Ride Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees the blame game again.
I mean, in California, every California crisis is blamed on Trump. The wildfires, Trump's fault. The empty, water reservoirs, Trump's fault. Budget deficit, his fault. And now the riots in L.A., his fault. What does Gavin Newsom take responsibility for?
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Carol Platt, Liebau for townhall.com. Last Saturday, the Army celebrated its 250th birthday with a military parade on the National Mall. The contrast with the No Kings rally held the same day couldn't have been more striking. No Kings rallies seem to be populated predominantly by unhappy, aging baby boomers. You had to wonder whether, given their age, they were getting their information only from legacy media. That might account for the fact that some, when interviewed, seemed to be bordering on anti-Trump hysteria. By contrast, the crowd at the Army parade was younger, multi-ethnic, and happy. They weren't there to celebrate Donald Trump or his birthday, which coincidentally happened to be the same day. They were honoring the fighting force that has kept the people of our great country both safe and free, often at great personal cost. That's a hopeful sign for our future. I'm Carol Platt-Liebauer.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find it in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or Amazon, or newnordicusa.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, 14 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 18 minutes. Outbound, about 55 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 27 minutes. Outbound is about 18 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. Outbound is about 30 minutes. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now, you'll find the latest summer styles all for under $25 with new arrivals every day. You never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A shower early this morning, then partly sunny for today, high 85. Partly cloudy for tonight, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy, a hot one on Saturday, a high at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Supreme Court releasing their opinion in a Tennessee case over legislation that would prohibit puberty blockers and hormones from being administered to minors. Justice Roberts writing in the case, it's U.S. versus Scrimeti, the legislation, SB 1, prohibits healthcare providers from administering puberty blockers and hormones to minors for certain medical uses. When, for example, a transgender boy, whose biological sex is female, takes puberty blockers to treat his gender incongruence, he receives a different medical treatment than a boy whose biological sex is male, who takes puberty blockers to treat his puberty. As the Wall Street Journal board opines on this, giving female hormones to a female 13-year-old with a specific medical problem isn't the same as giving female hormones to a male 13-year-old who has gender dysphoria, and that's an important distinction that the majority, 6-3 majority in this case, drew. They also referenced the scientific and policy debate, citing the Cass review out of the UK that found remarkably weak evidence for giving minors puberty blockers and cross-gender hormones. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. The Supreme Court's on-again, off-again common sense majority held up here on this case. That's progress. And let's just remember what we're talking about, too. The testimony of detransitioners that you won't hear from the legacy media in terms of the devastation that's been wrought. However well-intended some of the parents were, the outcomes are the outcomes. One of the women who has been most courageous in speaking out about the results of her transition and then detransition is Chloe Cole. You'll remember her conversation with Jordan Peterson that will refresh your recollection, because this is the sort of testimony you need to share to the sentimental barbarians in your circles of influence who can't be appealed to on logic or morality, but they can be appealed to on emotion. And these are some pretty emotional stories.
I'll never have my breast back. A reconstruction will do nothing for me, and it might make things worse, actually, because I've had some complications pop up this year with the grafts. I have to cover them up with bandages, or else they'll. I don't know what's going on with them. I tried to consult my surgeon about it, and she didn't really investigate. He gave me advice that made the complications worse, even, and actually temporarily gave me an infection. But I have to bandage up every day so that it doesn't leak all over my clothing or bedding. And
Jesus,
from the hormones and blockers, I've been experiencing some joint pains, mainly in my arms, my legs, and my back. And
yep.
I still have issues with my urinary tract. I have to use the restroom pretty frequently, and I didn't even know that this was possible. This is a pretty huge quality of life issue that I'm experiencing, and I'm just not really getting any help for it. And on top of that, I do hate to speak about it, but I'm experiencing sexual dysfunction at the age of 18. That's something that women usually go through when they're in their 40s to 50s.
Right.
How was I supposed to know?
No, run outside and go wave your trans flags, all you sentimental barbarians in Oak Park and River Forest. My God.
Trans rights being trampled on. That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
For the rest of Gay Pride Month and probably forever. And
tell it to Chloe Cole. By the way, I mean, there is a Park District building, I think it is, on Thatcher and First Avenue in River Forest. I think it's a River Forest Park District building. You would need to be an identitarian semaphore expert to appreciate. There are a dozen flags that I have no idea what they are, but I know they represent LGBTQIA2S plus, and then some. And it is exactly what you say. It is all oriented towards trans now.
Yeah, and you drive down Lincoln Avenue in Lincolnwood, and they used to have the rainbow, the pride flag. Now it's all trans flags. I stopped counting at 37 on both sides of the street, all the way down. It's all trans all the time.
Well, it's one thing to have that same flag. It's another thing the flags are sort of multiplying, and I don't know who's included and what, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's all. Yes, rather tiresome, frankly, but
every child in America is safer now, really. Well, I don't know about America, but in Tennessee.
Well, that's
the problem. What does it mean for Illinois?
Well, this is
J.B. Pritzker.
This is a Supreme Court decision. What it means is that that the states have rights. I mean, that's what this really means. This isn't a blanket federal prohibition. What it is that Tennessee has the right to move in this direction with respect to minors, the state's interests in protecting minors.
Which means that Illinois and Pritzker, they're going to start advertising. If you want to give hormones to your underage son or daughter, come to Illinois. We'll fill out your prescription. I mean, my gosh, they'll probably even pay for it. Our taxpayers are going to pay for it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that same line.
Maybe somebody at Lurie's would like to weigh in on this. Lurie's Children's Hospital, one of the crown jewels here. So what are they
Whole wing dedicated to this.
What are they going to do in response? I mean, in response to all the scholarship on it before we even got to the Supreme Court's decision. But now, is this having any sort of chilling effect? I know it's having a chilling effect at some hospitals around the country that were engaged in these, in the mutilation of children.
Right. Doing double mastectomies when they're 16 years old. One was 15. Are you crazy?
So here's another impact, not just because of the Supreme Court justices and the composition of the court that you can thank Trump for, but also because of the posture the administration has taken towards this. Now the Supreme Court essentially affirming it, on a federalist basis in this case. But this is where Trump and others, but particularly Trump, really matters. Prisha Mosley. You remember Prisha Mosley? She was a transitioner, detransitioner. We got to post these detransitioner stories so they get more circulation. People need human faces on these stories. Something to share in response. So, you don't have to respond to me. You don't have to make your case to me. Make your case to Chloe Cole. Make your case to Prisha Mosley. Make your case to so many of the kids that regret what they and their parents decided to do at an early age.
I can't believe this happened. I ruined my life. When you break it down, I decided that I didn't want to be a woman before I had ever even experienced being a woman. I had no idea what being a woman was like because I was a child. And now I feel like I will never entirely know. I want to say that I really feel like some people in the trans community and the trans medicalists and the doctors really, really target the most vulnerable of us. I have borderline personality disorder, and I know for a fact that this is the reason for my transition. It's a very difficult mental illness, and one of the core features is not having any sense of self or identity. And my doctors knew this. I told them, even though they didn't ask, that I had been diagnosed with BPD, and it was all fine to them. I wasn't happy as a girl, so that meant I was a boy and I was trans. And so I just took the cure that was handed to me. I was told that I was being given a cure, and I wouldn't want to kill myself anymore. And it wasn't true. I didn't want to cry in this video, but this is such a hard thing to talk about. I lost a lot of things to this, and I just hope that anyone else who's going through what I went through as a young girl will not be prescribed hormones and surgery because of other things. There are so many mental health disorders that make you hate your body, and the solution isn't to change your body, it's to fix your brain, I just don't want anyone else to ever feel this way. I lost my voice. I lost my chest. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have kids. I feel like no one wants to date me or love me because I'm ruined.
So, who wants to call Prisha Mosley a bigot? Anybody? Yeah. And remember a key point here, as the Cass review in the UK made.
Right. Europe is changing their tune.
No science. This is all ideology.
Yeah.
With a medical patina over it. And there's going to be a lot of Prisha Mosley. I've actually spoken with her, and I think she's doing pretty well now, which is good. But she's filed suit against her doctor. So has Chloe Cole.
Yep.
But
as they should.
But it's more than filing suit. There's needs to be a reckoning against these hospitals and these doctors, these ideologues in lab coats.
Trying to make money, because you know money's involved. Follow the money, they say.
Tom in Blue Island.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. It's terrible. These stories they're terrible for these kids. All of us are of an age where these kind of ideas never would have, they didn't exist 30, 40 years ago. And it seems there has to be not a discussion. These people that have led to these children believing this, there has to be a reckoning for these people. And I'm going to throw in the requisite qualifier of I have gay friends too. This has to have some kind of foundation and some kind of militant gay mentality when you start telling boys they can be girls and girls they can't be boys, because I don't see where this can begin short of somewhere where you believe that heterosexuality is anything more than normal and the way things should be. And for these kids, their lives are ruined. This girl's 18 years old. She's talking like she's 60. And the media says nothing.
Thanks for the call, Tom. We have discussed Origins before, but I'll mention it again, timely. Go read Wilhelm Reich's The Sexual Revolution, the writings of Marcuse and other acolytes of the Frankfurt School. Right, we weren't talking about this 30 or 40 years ago, transing kids. We weren't talking about it 5 years ago. Well, maybe 5. We weren't talking about it 10 years ago. Kids and girls, boys and girls sports and all this stuff. Of course, these are modern incarnations of a philosophy that dates back, well, the Frankfurt School is 100 years, the 1920s. And it's an attack on the traditional family structure. It's an attack on the nuclear family by the state. These are statists who understand, because they're current varietals of them as well, that the family is a bulwark against the state, the same way that Marx understood that the church was a bulwark against the state. And what prevents your power aggrandizement is something that you want to address. But you can't do it straight away. And you can't go from 0 to 100 overnight. It takes time, like 100 years. And you go from abortions to marriage redefinition to biological sex redefinition.
Yeah, start with puberty blockers and go on to hormone therapy. And
so the scholarship is there. You just have to follow the breadcrumbs.
Got a text message, Dan and Amy. Don't forget, in the state of Washington, government agencies can transition kids without parents' knowledge or consent, and kids can be removed from homes if parents object.
Right, because
barbaric.
Because families are an impediment to state control.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I won't sugarcoat it. Crime in Illinois is rampant. Every day we hear about home invasions, armed robberies, carjackings. It's terrifying. That's why I turned to Goldilocks for my home security. My family and I feel so much safer. They showed me what intruders look for and installed a state-of-the-art smart security system. They offer HD cameras, motion sensors, smart locks, and real-time mobile alerts. I check mine all the time. So whether I'm home or not, I know who's at my door and who shouldn't be. Goldilocks also secures businesses of all sizes. They have security doors, keyless entry, 24/7 monitoring. Trust me, you'll never regret being prepared, but you may regret doing nothing. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call Goldilocks today, 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600, or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Planning a wedding is a monumental task. After months and months of preparation, on your wedding day, you have a lot to think about. The flowers, the catering, the bridal party, the DJ, the seating chart. It can be overwhelming, and no one wants all of that stress to take away from the joy of the moment. That's why you need a wedding photographer you can trust to capture those important moments, so that no matter what happens on your wedding day, you'll have those memories to enjoy for years to come. For over 30 years, brides and their families have trusted Tom Kaloran Photography with their wedding days. This locally owned family business will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit TomKaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com. Or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your personal information. You might even use things like two-factor authentication and strong passwords. But as much as you try to control how your info's protected, there are other places that also have it, and they may not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name Clay as the promo code at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is interesting. A book that is topping the bestseller lists in Germany is from a libertarian journalist whose name is Ulf Poschardt. It's entitled Scheitburger.
What?
We would pronounce it differently.
Yeah, I see. Okay. And what's the premise of the book?
The premise of the book is this new archetype, this new social archetype he identifies as the Scheitburger. With a dangerous mix of arrogance and subservience, Scheitburgers present as moral saviors but are defending their own privilege. Yeah, it's a good summary. Mm-hmm. And these Scheitburgers He writes, have built cultural hegemony in Western societies, infiltrating media, culture, and academia, and pushing Germany and the rest of Europe into crisis. You don't say. A little bit early to the dance with cultural Marxism and late to the dance out, but at least you have some voices in places like Germany pointing it out. And I do like the archetype and that presenting as moral saviors, but really just defending their own privilege. Exactly what they do. And so he recommends that radical self-reflection and a return to libertarian values are the antidote to the Scheitberger problem in Germany.
That's awesome. Are you going to get the book and read it? Easy beach read, maybe, for the summer?
As long as it's translated into English, yeah. But I like it. I like what this guy's laying down.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We're going to talk to French Israeli journalist and documentarian Pierre Rehov, who's about 20 miles from Gaza. He's going to give us a firsthand account of what's happening on the ground in the Middle East at 8:08.
Today we're going to have showers in this morning in certain areas. Otherwise, partly sunny, warm, a high of 85 degrees. Then Friday, partly sunny, breezy in the afternoon, a high of 86. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Will Iran's supreme leader be targeted soon? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Israel's defense minister said today in order to achieve all their goals, the Ayatollah should not continue to exist. After another barrage of Iranian missiles sent Israelis into bomb shelters, and some of those missiles got through the Iron Dome defense. Fox's Mike Tobin in an area of Tel Aviv that took a direct hit.
The damage here stretches over several blocks. You've got a lot of apartment buildings, businesses, retail that are in here. The balconies are destroyed. Windows are broken out for blocks around the impact zone. Also, Holon on the south side of Tel Aviv. That's an older residential area. That took a direct hit. And a hospital called Soroka in the southern part of Israel was hit.
That's Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's place now. You just visited that site.
In this hospital, there are patients who are immobile. They can't even move. Right next to it is a children's ward, a baby's ward, infants. They targeted.
And he says that's the difference in the conflict with Iran.
Israel is fighting to remove the nuclear and missile threat aimed at our annihilation.
As President Trump considers helping Israel's military, some in Congress demand he wait for their approval. Many Republicans disagree.
I believe the president has full authority.
GOP Senator John Barrasso tells Fox
Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. He said it strongly. He's said it repeatedly because he knows that Iran with a nuclear weapon is a threat to the people of the United States.
Hurricane Eric has been battering Mexico's southwest coast all night into the morning, and a short time ago, the eye finally made landfall.
It's skirting the coast, and think of all of those winds affecting all of those communities, resort areas, a lot of timeshares here, and a lot of people who live here, too.
Fox Weather's Craig Herrera. Eric was a Category 4 hurricane. Now its top winds down to 125 miles an hour. Catastrophic flooding is a concern as well. In West Virginia, it's up to 8 deaths in flash flooding over the weekend in the Wheeling area. Homes and businesses destroyed. Some roads washed out, leaving cars underwater. America's listening.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Chicago aldermen are approving a controversial SNAP curfew aimed at cracking down on teen takeovers in downtown. However, Mayor Johnson immediately said afterwards that he plans to veto the ordinance.
I will veto this ordinance because it is counterproductive to the progress that we have made in reducing crime and violence in our city. It would create tensions between residents and law enforcement at a time when we have worked so hard to rebuild that trust.
The council voted 27-22 to pass the ordinance yesterday. The measure gives the Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling the ability to issue curfews anytime, anywhere in the city within 30 minutes notice. Council members would need 34 votes to override the mayor's veto. 3 men are hospitalized after a stabbing attack at a skate park in Grant Park. The crime happened late Tuesday afternoon in the 1100 block of South Michigan Avenue. Police say an argument between the men occurred when one of them pulled out a sharp object and began stabbing the other two. The victims reportedly fought back and were able to disarm the attacker and stab him several times. The alleged offender was taken to the hospital in critical condition and has been taken into custody. One person is dead and a police officer wounded following a shootout at a hotel in northwest Indiana. Police say officers were called out yesterday morning to the Hilton Garden on Gateway Boulevard in Chesterton on a report of a suspicious person at a hotel who wasn't a guest. State police say officers confronted the person before gunfire was exchanged. The person was pronounced dead at the scene. A Chesterton police officer suffered a gunshot wound and was treated and released from the hospital. Indiana State Police detectives are investigating the incident. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Global stocks have been losing ground. Crude oil futures are higher as the Iran-Israel conflict escalates. Investors are also looking at the Federal Reserve's hesitance to lower interest rates. The Fed did not cut rates yesterday, and Fed Chair Powell said he was waiting for the impact of tariffs. Powell says, "We haven't been through a situation like this, and I think we have to be humble about our ability to forecast it." However, the Fed is still planning 2 interest rate cuts this year. U.S. markets are closed today for the Juneteenth holiday. Tesla is scheduled to launch its robo-taxi service in Austin, Texas on Sunday. A group of Texas lawmakers is asking the company to delay it again until the state's new autonomous driving law takes effect in September. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Charlie Kirk sees an ironic connection.
You cannot be a leftist while also being in lockstep with what is best for Western civilization, including what is Israel. And the number one funder of these groups are American Jews. It's by far. They fund the colleges. They'll name the names of the schools. They are funding their own demise.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're trying to get through your daily activities and you're noticing you can't because you're focusing more on your pain than being able to enjoy the moment, those are the patients that we're looking to treat because we can make a difference.
That's Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Chicago's medical director for QC Kinetics.
What we're doing at QC Kinetics is offering treatments that help with joint preservation. We use cutting-edge technology in our in-house lab to harness your body's natural healing powers and target the areas where you need them the most.
These are regenerative, non-surgical treatments, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader, delivering lasting relief to tens of thousands of patients.
What we do know is that the sooner we start treatment, the sooner you'll see relief.
So don't wait another minute. See if you're a good candidate for these non-surgical treatments for joint pain. The consultation is completely free.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/policy. That's ethos.com/policy.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active-duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for Townhall.com. Last Saturday, the Army celebrated its 250th birthday with a military parade on the National Mall. The contrast with the No Kings rally held the same day couldn't have been more striking. No Kings rallies seem to be populated predominantly by unhappy, aging baby boomers. You had to wonder whether, given their age, they were getting their information only from legacy media. That might account for the fact that some, when interviewed, seemed to be bordering on anti-Trump hysteria. By contrast, the crowd at the Army parade was younger, multi-ethnic, and happy. They weren't there to celebrate Donald Trump or his birthday, which coincidentally happened to be the same day. They were honoring the fighting force that has kept the people of our great country both safe and free, often at great personal cost. That's a hopeful sign for our future. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 20 minutes. Outbound, about 39 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 25 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 18 minutes. Outbound, 22 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne interchange, 12 minutes. Outbound, about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now let's check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A shower this morning early, then partly sunny. High today 85. Tonight partly cloudy, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy day on Saturday, much warmer. High Saturday at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Pierre Rehov is a French-Israeli journalist, author, and documentary filmmaker, recognized for his in-depth investigations into terrorism, anti-Semitism, and Middle East geopolitics. He lives in Ashdod in Israel, about 20 kilometers from Gaza. His new bestseller in France is La Riposte, October 7th, La Riposte, The Response, that he wrote with French TV producer and journalist Stéphane Simon. Obviously talking about the Hamas attack dealing with the Hamas attack of October 7th. Pleased to have him back on the show to provide some first-person accounts of what's happening in the Middle East and where he lives. Pierre Rehov, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, you're in Ashdod now?
Yeah. I'm in Ashdod, which is, as you said, 20 kilometers roughly north of Gaza Strip, which is 15 miles north of Gaza Strip. And we had another delicate, should I say, night, because we received alerts, sirens at 1 in the morning, then at 6:50 in the morning. Thankfully, as far as we are concerned, Ashdod is a small city, so it's not a target for Iranian missiles, because, as you already know, Iranians, this regime is targeting civilian areas, and they want as many Jews killed as possible. And we are, about 35 miles south of Tel Aviv. So that puts us in a situation which is a little more, I will not use the word comfortable, but, more safer than it was in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. Although it's not an easy situation, even though I've been living now for 14 years in Israel, so I got kind of used to it. Unfortunate.
But we did see earlier this week that a majority Muslim neighborhood had been hit by Iranian missiles, and the suggestion was that quite possible the Iranians did this purposefully to try to engender. They're happy to use people as human shields. They're happy to use people as means to their political ends. And this was a way to try to inflame opposition to Israel.
I'm sorry, it's not exactly that. The thing is, Iranians want, Iranians, let's talk about the regime, okay, not the people of Iran, who are the first to suffer. It's a terrible kind of Nazi type of regime. The Ayatollah and the Iranian regime, they want dead Jews. And when they launch a missile, they launch it towards the cities. It's not precise it's not super precise. So it's going to hit Haifa, around Haifa, there's some Arab towns which are part of Israel. In some cases, last week, on the first or second day, they actually hit Ramallah. But you have to understand, Israel is a very, very small, it's a tiny country. It's the size of Maine. And when you hit someplace, there are very many chances you're going to hit somewhere else.
Yeah.
The thing is, if Iran had the atom bomb, they would happily launch the atom bomb on Tel Aviv. And they would not care whatsoever for all the Palestinians living around Israel who would also die as long as they can destroy Israel and kill the Jews. It's not geopolitical. It's not political. It's religious. It's very deep within a certain side of Islam to hate the Jews because they refuse the prediction or whatever you want to call it. They refuse to kill Muhammad and the prophet of Islam, and therefore they were considered as traitors. It's something really historical, and it's enshrined in the among specific kind of people. Among them, obviously, the people who were put together. The Muslim Brotherhood, from which Hamas is the armed branch, and obviously the Iranian regime. All those fanatics have in mind that they're messy. They believe also they don't believe in Jesus or the Jewish Mashiach. They believe in their own Mashiach, which is called the Mahdi. And they believe that the Mahdi will not come on earth until Muslims have exterminated the Jewish people. The goal is to exterminate the Jewish people, like Hitler had in mind. And in this specific case, they cannot stand the very idea that Jews would have a small country in the Middle East. So it's not about, we're going to defend the Palestinians, something bad is happening to them. No, they wouldn't care less about the Palestinians as long as they can destroy Israel.
Well, they're also chanting death to America. And that's about religion as well.
Yeah, it is about religion as well, because America is they hate on earth. It's a free country, democracy. Women are equal to men. Women are free to go wherever they want, to dance, to sing. For them, it's kind of a hell. You have to understand the way those people live. In reality or in their mind, they live in the 7th century. And the 7th century was the century of glory for them, because you see, when Muhammad conducted all the jihad and conquested most of the Middle East and, converted by force Jews and Christians and all that. America is the opposite of that. America has never been an imperialist country. It's a country that takes care about itself and wants to promote democracy all around the world. So that's a nightmare for Iranians. And they became deaf to America, because imagine an American regime in Iran would be the end of them.
So just going back to the Iranian missile strike. So that strike of the hospital in southern Israel, you think that was collateral damage or that was targeted?
Oh, it's targeted.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely targeted.
Yeah.
And we were, there was a miracle, because I don't know if you know, but the director of the hospital, the day before, decided to evacuate one of the floors. He had a kind of instinct, he had a vision. And he just evacuated the second floor of the hospital, which is exactly where the missile hit, which means that about 200 wounded people or sick people were evacuated down to the basement of all the places of the hospital. And 200 people minimum were saved this way. Minimum. And it's amazing what happened.
No, it is. And what's going on there too? I understand. First of all, there are 700,000 Americans or dual citizens there. There's evacuations ongoing. As I understand it, caravanning people out of Israel and so forth. And I wonder, and there's a shelter-in-place order at the U.S. Embassy, which tells you something about the situation. But since you're relatively close to Gaza and you have this obviously first-person understanding of the area and the region, how would you describe the situation there and where you think this is leading in the short term?
On the short term, it's hard to say. On the long term, nobody wants the Ayatollah to be in charge of Iran anymore. On the long term, no matter what, Iran will not have the atom bomb. Listen to President Trump. He said it 20 times. He wants Iran to capitulate. He doesn't want ceasefire or anything like that. And the boss is President Trump. I mean, Israel is doing a great job, but again, Israel is a very small country, and if we didn't have President Trump with us right now, it would be a much more difficult situation. I cannot even nightmare of having Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris or any Democrat in charge of the free world as it is today. It would be almost the end of Israel. Israel would be attacked from every side, and nobody would do anything about it. What
happened? I mean, you're 20 kilometers from Gaza, so I mean it's like being an inner ring suburb of Chicago here. What happens to Gaza when the dust settles here, and whatever can be done to eradicate Hamas has been done, and this campaign against the Iranian nuclear program has subsided? What is that region going to look like, do you think?
About 80% of Gaza has been destroyed down to the ground. It's impossible for people to live in Gaza at this point. You have 2.2 million Arabs living in Gaza who pretend to be Palestinians, but that's another story. And those people, I mean, they have no place to live. They are right now living, most of them, in camps. And the horrible thing is that those people represent a problem to Israel. So for political reasons, you have a lot of countries and a lot of parties, France among them, wanting those people to remain where they are. Don't let the Gazans go away. And the border between Egypt and Gaza is much, much more closed than the border between Gaza and Israel. This is where the Gazans would like to go. Go south, go to Egypt, and from Egypt go just anywhere else in the world. And Egypt doesn't let that happen. They don't want the Arabs to flee from Gaza because it continues to be a problem for Israel, and they want this problem to exist for Israel. So millions of people are suffering not because of Israel, even though Israel is doing the job of trying to get rid of Hamas. And don't forget, they voted for Hamas. Gazans are like the Germans during World War II. They cannot say, oh, well, we're sorry, Hamas is not us. Yeah, it's you. It's you because you voted for Hamas. And on October 7, 2023, 85% of Palestinians everywhere, West Bank, Samaria, or Gaza, they were in favor of what Hamas did. So you can after that say, well, we're sorry, it's not us. Yes, it's you. There were more pro-Hamas Arabs living in Gaza than they were pro-Hitler Germans living in Germany. So, yeah, there is one way to solve the problem, which is what the Allies did during World War II, just bomb them until they surrender. They don't want to surrender, continue to bomb. The problem we have is that there are still 54 hostages. 21 of them may still be alive, and that's a real problem because these are innocent people who have been kidnapped and taken hostage in the Gaza tunnels. And it's not been possible until now to free them. So I think Israel moved to another strategy. Instead of trying to get rid of Hamas in Gaza, we have to scare the main problem, which is not even Iran. The main problem is Qatar. Qatar is is really destroying a lot of things around the world with their money. They are using thousands of billions of dollars for their soft power. We saw what they did in American universities. You saw all the problems they caused over there. They are also corrupted a lot of politicians around the planet. And they also, host the main leaders of Gaza, and they have been hosting them forever. So Qatar has a very ambiguous double game. And at this point, until now, they were very close to Iran. But if they see that Iran is going away, if they see that the regime is dying, Qatar is a very small country with only 200,000 people and about 1 million slaves working for them. And those 200,000 people are fanatics as much as the Iranians, but they know how to handle a double game, and they are all Muslim Brotherhood. This is one thing to understand. So Hamas is part of Qatar. It's part of the Mother Brotherhood, and it's Qatar that will decide whether or not the hostages will be freed and sent back to Israel. If they see that Iran is going away, they might be scared, and the next step might be good news for us.
Well, is humanitarian aid, food, water, medicine getting into Gaza?
Well, yesterday, 85 trucks went into Gaza. The thing is, and the reason why Israel stopped the humanitarian aid to Gaza is because more than half of it was stolen by Hamas and sold on the black market. And this money was helping Hamas to recruit more soldiers. As we were killing, they were recruiting more. Sorry for my accent that you have to suffer. So this is the main reason why Israel stopped the humanitarian help in order to weaken the Hamas. Now that Americans and Israel together organize a different way of distributing humanitarian aid, the Gazans are very, very happy. You know, a good friend of mine, Colonel Kent, was yesterday in Gaza with the Israeli army, and he went to one of these points, and he told me it's amazing. Those poor Arabs come to the distribution point, which is secured by Israel and by the American army, and I mean not by American contractors, sorry, and they are saying, "Long life Trump, long life Israel," and those are the people who are supposed to be our enemies, but they are actually. They are becoming slowly and surely the enemies of their own leaders that they put in power. They are not very well educated people. They go where the wind blows, So right now, the humanitarian aid is increasing. They are receiving all they need. And there's never been people really suffering of not having food in Gaza. It's a complete lie. And you know who is responsible for the lie? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. United Nations is a very corrupted organization. Thankfully, the U.S. are withdrawing from many, many parts of it. As they withdrew, they are not financing the UNRWA anymore. UNRWA is the United Nations Work and Relief for Palestine, and this organization has been polluted by Hamas for decades. A lot of people supposedly working for the United Nations within Gaza are actually working for Hamas. Even some of them even took part in the October 7th massacre. So, of course, the United Nations is spreading all those lies about the famine in Gaza because they want to continue being in charge of the distribution of humanitarian aid. Yeah. And they know very well that Hamas is stealing most of it, but they also want Hamas to keep in charge. That's a problem.
Yeah, well, that's the Washington, D.C. political press corps here is corrupt like the UN, too, complicit in what you're describing in terms of the propaganda that is distributed. Pierre Rihov is a French-Israeli novelist, journalist, documentary filmmaker. His new bestseller in France, October 7th, The Response, or La Riposte. Also, he directed recently the documentary film Pogroms, which details the atrocities of October 7th and their aftermath. That is now streaming on Apple TV and Tubi. More information available at pogroms.info. Pierre Rihov, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and OMG, I was absolutely speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just one day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628 or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today or call 855-510-2628.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available Friday, June 27th at AwakeningFoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversary tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
For centuries, gold and silver have protected wealth through war, recession, inflation, and economic upheaval. At Advantage Gold, we specialize in helping you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical gold or silver, tax-free and penalty-free. When you call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000, for a limited time, you could receive up to $10,000 in precious metals when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy, Progress Action Fund. This is hard left propaganda arm of the new neo-Marxist party. They've got a new anti-ICE ad up. Take a listen. This is where they're going to go with.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really look.
What are you doing?
She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
I mean, that's as somebody who's done hard-hitting political ads, I mean, that's just sick. So we don't care about citizens or non-citizens. Looks like one of them. And oh, by the way, the girl you just went on a date with, we're going to have her gang raped in El Salvador.
But she was born here.
That's your pitch?
Yeah, please.
It's not funny.
It's not. I mean, it's.
These are by the way, this is the same group that did this in 24. This isn't their first foray.
Oh, God. The condom broke.
Oh, I have plan B in the bathroom.
Great. I'm gonna go get that now.
Sorry, you can't use that.
Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we banned Plan B.
No, you can't. You can't do this. I can't have a kid right now.
I won the last election, so it's my decision. Now let's get back in there so we can give her the news, Daddy.
And I can't wait. I can't wait for
the encore.
The DC press corps to pick up on these grotesque ads and the unconscionable rhetoric as well as implications of these ads, particularly the ICE one. Now the other one is, I'm your GOP congressman. So look for them because they'll be circulating because people like Reid Hoffman and Huma Abedin's husband are going to be financing them.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
8:38, we'll talk to our friend James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent, the famed criminal profiler in the Unabomber case. Get his perspective on Cash and Dan and the new crew at the FBI at 8:38.
But first, we have to stop into the newsroom once again. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Trump administration is sending another 2,000 National Guard troops to control the anti-ICE protesters in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is questioning the need for the troops.
Why do you have these young people here who have to miss work, miss school, leave their families, and they're here for no reason? In some instances, and I'm sure you've seen the pictures, in some instances, sleeping on the floor of the federal building.
The U.S. Northern Command said Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth activated the troops under an Army code that allows the president to call the National Guard into federal service when the U.S. is under invasion. Governor Newsom was critical of the deployment, said the soldiers were diverted from critical wildfire work and are now twiddling their thumbs for Donald Trump's political theater. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
A new poll suggests a majority of Americans are opposed to the U.S. getting involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran.
The Washington Post surveyed roughly 1,000 U.S. adults this week and found nearly one-third of those polled knew little or nothing about Israel launching airstrikes against Iran. It found only 25% support the U.S. military launching airstrikes against Iran over its nuclear program. 45% oppose U.S. involvement, while 30% say they're not sure. A large majority of those polled were either somewhat or very concerned about the U.S. getting into a war with Iran. I'm Michael Kastner.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
We're going to have another reconciliation bill, possibly 2 additional bills coming up in the near future. We're going to continue to codify the DOGE cuts and continue this process.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
For centuries, gold and silver have protected wealth through war, recession, inflation, and economic upheaval. And today, as markets remain volatile and uncertainty grows, gold and silver continue to serve as an essential building block for modern retirement portfolios, offering both stability and long-term potential. At Advantage Gold, we specialize in helping you move your IRA or eligible 401k into physical gold or silver, tax-free and penalty-free. When you call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000, you'll receive expert insights, real-time market analysis, and modern investment strategies. Everything you need to make informed decisions about your financial future. And right now, for a limited time, you could receive up to $10,000 in precious metals when you open your qualified gold IRA with Advantage Gold. So don't wait for the next market downturn. Take control of your retirement strategy today with the proven power of physical gold and silver. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Visit AdvantageGold.com or call 800-900-8000.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like President Trump said, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
At some point, nearly 70% of retirees will need long-term care. The team at FestGen Wealth Partners can develop a comprehensive plan to help lessen the emotional and financial burden long-term care expenses can cause. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through FestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and FestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. FestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
From the Team Hoffberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes, outbound 16 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Vernon Interchange, about 18 minutes, outbound 34 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 14 minutes, outbound 29 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 16 minutes, outbound 24 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 12 minutes. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now, you'll find the latest summer styles all for under $25 with new arrivals every day. Who knows what amazing deals you'll find. So don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
A shower early this morning, then partly sunny for today, high 85. Partly cloudy for tonight, low 66. Partly sunny, a breezy day tomorrow, the high 86. Sunny to partly cloudy, windy, a hot one on Saturday, the high at 96. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Is supposed to be a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing yesterday on the cover-up of Biden's alleged cognitive decline. I say alleged because all these leading lights of the left were flacking for him and in many respects still are. Not the Joe Biden I knew. That wasn't my experience. That's the cover story. Well, John Cornyn, a senator from Texas, had this to say in advance of any getting down to business, because a lot of no-shows.
I will note that few of my Democratic colleagues are here today. Thank you to Senator Welch from Vermont for being here, leaving us with no other option than to take the boycotting of this hearing as an admission of guilt for their role in this crisis.
Nice.
We must not turn away from the search for answers.
I think that's a fair interpretation. By the way, the only reason Welch is there is because he's a lame duck. He doesn't have to worry about the blowback from constituents and the base of his party. Most of the others do, and apparently they're quite concerned, which is also a tell. And remember, it wasn't just formal members of the House and Senate caucuses or formal executive branch subordinates of the president. It was also people like, I don't know, FBI Director Christopher Wray, who were giving Biden the good housekeeping seal as it was clear that, there were problems in terms of his abilities to execute his duties.
It was a year ago today. Remember the Juneteenth celebration on the White House lawn with Kamala and Dougie and others, and they were dancing, and he was just gone. Like he was staring off into space.
Happier times.
Yeah. That's not the Joe Biden I know.
James Fitzgerald is a retired FBI special agent, criminal profiler from the Unabomber case that was memorialized in a very good series called Manhunt, in which Sam Worthington played James Fitzgerald. He's now the co-host of the Cold Red podcast. Cold Red is his podcast, which is on Spotify and Apple and all the platforms. James Fitzgerald, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. It's always good to be back with you guys.
You know, what about, I mean, how do you look at, every American has an opinion on the handling of Biden's candidacy and what was said about his presidency versus what there's a pretty good evidentiary basis was the reality of his presidency. And of course, this was, brought out into the open because of the Jake Tapper book with everybody trying to cover their backsides. But I mean, but when law enforcement like a Christopher Wray wades in on this to, again, as I said, basically parrot lines you expect to hear from Ali Mayorkas, how did that set with you?
Well, not very well. And I mean, Wray is, descending into the realms, not quite of James Comey yet, but in terms of directors of the FBI, another bad choice. And again, Trump had different advisors back in the day and thought he was the right way to go. But the more we're hearing about this, and not including or to include the Catholic memo that we're learning more about. It was only supposed to be one division, Richmond. Now it seems like half a dozen different divisions. So
1,000 agents,
along with everyone else,
1,000 people saw that memo, right?
That's right. Now, seeing it is one thing, acting on it, endorsing it, setting out separate leads is something else. So it really makes me ask a lot of questions about the mindset in the FBI. Then, I mean, I quite frankly had them back then. I had most of the answers back then, and of course, they've all been verified lately. I can't help but think of the monkeys covering their eyes and their ears, but in this case, it's see no dementia, hear no dementia. When everyone's dealing with him. With Biden during those 4 years. And it's just so I saw a chart yesterday with the auto pen. I'm a forensic linguist besides being a profiler, and writing and language is always helps me solve cases, including Unabomb, as you mentioned. And that use of that auto pen is so bothersome. The pardon of Peltier, I think it was an hour before Trump was sworn in. That hit me so hard. I predicted that 4 years ago on an FBI listserv I'm on. There's always these agents. Most agents support Trump. There's a few that come out Biden, even back 4 years ago. I said the most dangerous day in Biden's presidency will be his last day in office in terms of pardon. And where do you see Peltier get pardoned? And he did. So that's always personal, because 2 FBI agents were killed, of course, back in the mid-'70s by Leonard Peltier and an Indian reservation. So, it was so obvious to any of us with common sense. Any of us that had an older uncle or parent, they could just see with this guy's diminished capabilities, and the FBI suffered from it too.
But if he had such diminished capabilities, who was running the auto pen?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm an outsider to that, like you guys are, and many of us are. But that's the answer. I mean, I think that one of the best news sources I follow is the Babylon Bee. And,
right.
A year ago, they're talking about what intern's in charge today for, worldwide, policy. And it probably wasn't far from that in terms of who was making some of the decisions, certainly for the last year or so. And certainly once he dropped out of the race back in July of last year, and Kamala was the front runner of the Dems. I mean, so who knows? And I hope there are continued hearings. And of course, the Dems, in the Senate and the House, they don't want any parts of this. Oh, we're looking forward. Yeah, well, don't let history repeat itself, as Churchill or someone said. You've got to know what happened in the past to make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the Babylon Bee, right? So much satire becomes reality. It becomes very, very difficult to parody the truth.
It is.
I wanted to get your reaction to something else out this week, too. I mean, again, this information that is finally coming to light. I know the organizations that FOIA the information about the targeting of conservative Catholics, the Catholics who attend the Latin Mass, that supposedly was limited to the Richmond office. And they got a response ultimately, but it was redacted. All the information that's now been released by the FBI was redacted previously. So apparently it was sensitive under the previous FBI leadership, but it's not sensitive under this leadership, or it's not. It wasn't FOIAble, and now it is FOIAble because now you get the 1,000 people that had a view into this memo. So the same thing with this. Kash Patel this week turning over an intelligence report that had raised concerns that China had mass-produced fake driver's license to carry out a election scam to benefit Joe Biden, fake mail-in ballots. How important were mail-in ballots in the 2020 election for Joe Biden?
Right.
Very important. Customs and Border Protection had, according to this report, intercepted nearly 20,000 fake licenses around the time the intelligence came in possible corroboration of the report. But basically, there was no action taken in furtherance of fleshing out whether or not this CCP ballot stuffing operation was going on or not. So now we have a disclosure, and now we have more questions about, okay, well, so who knew what? And if Customs and Border Protection also has some information about the mass production of fake licenses, why did this ever bubble to the surface? Why wasn't it investigated to completion so the FBI could make some definitive statement on it?
Well, it would be so not surprising to find out the same agents or the same squad that were handling the Hunter Biden laptop were also in charge of this particular investigation. But look, I mean, it's so easy to get fake licenses, or they're not even fake licenses in California and New York and a bunch of other states for illegals in the country. But I guess, you know, the CCP wanted to make it even easier to somehow affect that 2020 election. And, you know, no one really knows what happens, but boy, there's a lot of you know, supposition out there, which is slowly turning into evidence or evidence-grade material that I think we really should take another look at that 2020 election also.
So you support Kash Patel and Bongino sort of reopening some of the investigations that were closed in sometimes in curious manners from the previous administration?
Absolutely. I was one of the people, there's about 50 retired agents back in December or January that signed a letter supporting Kash Patel. We didn't know he'd bring on Dan Bongino, but, you know, that's okay. So, yeah, I do support these. I mean, there's other missions the FBI should have. They can walk and chew gum at the same time. It didn't seem so much so under Wray in some areas, but we can still get to the child, you know, pornographers and human traffickers and the fentanyl dealers. But yeah, let's put a squad of 10 or so agents and analysts together on all these different types of matters from the past, and let's get them finding out just what the hell happened and get to the bottom of it again, so it doesn't happen in the future.
Have you seen evidence that there has been a redeployment of FBI agents sort of along the lines you were just talking about, a focus on dealing with violent crime and more so than, you know, playing partisan politics inside the Beltway? I asked that because John Lott, we're talking about right now, the first 5 months of this year, you're looking at potentially the lowest murder per capita rate in this country ever recorded, which is great news. And John Lott from the Crime Prevention Research Center suggested that part of that involved a redeployment of FBI special agents that oriented toward violent crime in big metropolitan areas and solving cases.
Yes, I personally know agents in the Bureau now, younger folks, and they have been redeployed. They're certainly helping out ICE on some of the arrest scenarios in different cities, and some of them had, like, you know, working intel work, and this is doing intel work, and this is kind of a nice, you know, fresh change for them to get out and actually make some arrests of people who, of course, should be arrested and should have never been in the country to begin with. So, yes, there is definitely that redeployment. Kash Patel is not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk, and his agents are doing the same, working under him. And I think it's a great day and a great new beginning, if you will, for the FBI in 2025.
One talking point that just is getting exhausting is all these Democratic politicians in Chicago, California, New York, saying that they're snatching people up in the middle of the night, legal U.S. citizens. Do you know of any cases at all where we're taking actual American citizens and taking them into detention centers?
No, if that was happening, they'd be these, you know, Van Halen, I know that's not his real name, from Maryland, he'd be flying to see them too and actually, you know, proof of their citizenship, whatever. I have no indications that happening. Look, is it possible they scoop up 20 people in some nightclub or some bodega somewhere? I don't even know. Is one of them perhaps there legally? Of course, but that person would be released within hours, no doubt. So is it possible there's an occasional mistake made? Of course. But there's no rampant, you know, misuse of these of our immigration laws where they're deporting these people or starting the process and American citizens being picked up. It's not happening. It's just a convenient, a rationale to put out there to try to denigrate the other side.
Yeah, and your reaction to, the rhetoric, Tim Walz calling the ICE Gestapo. There's a renewed movement afoot to abolish ICE from, a bygone era. You have these congresswomen getting themselves arrested and behaving obstreperously, if not illegally in some cases, and making a spectacle of themselves for political purpose. I mean, the FBI and ICE and the other federal law enforcement agencies that coordinate with one another. I mean, what's the impact of all of those political antics? Is it anything, or is it just white noise?
Well, it's beyond white noise. I mean, Tim Walz about 2 weeks ago was telling his zealots and his sycophants, we have to get meaner. So one of his people that he appointed to some sort of commission went out and got pretty mean last Saturday morning about 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And we see what happened to the Minnesota senator and representative, either murdered or attempted murder there. So, you can't keep telling people that the police and law enforcement are Gestapo or SS troops and not expect them to be violated. The biggest interesting argument I hear right now, I think California has just sponsored a bill, some representative there, about the mask wearing of the ICE folks and other law enforcement. Now, it's okay when all the people on the streets wear their masks, Antifa and all the rioters throwing Molotov cocktails and shooting Roman candles at the police, but the police can't have any kind of a face coverage. And we know they're getting doxxed. I knew in NYPD a few years, even during the Black Lives Matter riots, the officers were covering up their names with black tape. You could still see their badge numbers, like 5-digit badge numbers. So if some police officer was doing bad, copy the number down, file your complaint. But they didn't want their names out there because their families and their kids are getting doxxed at schools and grade schools and kindergartens, and the same with these guys doing this work now. So I hope that law doesn't pass, or if it does pass, no one can wear a mask anytime, anywhere. Yeah. Ironic from 5 years ago when everyone had to wear a mask, driving in a car by yourself. You still see people doing that. I can't help but wave them with a thumbs up. They probably think I support them.
Do you really?
The irony.
I just shake my head. Mr. Fitzgerald, before we let you go, let's talk about your new book real quick, A Journey to the Center of the Mind.
Well, it's the fourth and final book in my memoir series, Amy. Thanks for asking. And your producer, Keith Conrad, he did the audiobook portion with me. He did some great work, and it'll be out in July. And it's the last 10 years of my FBI career and the 17 years since I've been retired. Hard to believe. But I've been very busy since then. We're still working cases. When the CNN told a lie about me on the air, I put a chapter in about that. Some other people who tried to come after me, I kind of go back at them. But a number of interesting cases there, too. Stalkers, bad guys. Even put a guy in prison in Australia, all the way from the east coast of the U.S. with some stalking things he was doing. It's all in my book 4, A Journey to the Center of the Mind. All books are named the same thing, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, yeah, it's out in July. And thanks again to your producer, Keith Conrad, and looking forward to getting out there, doing some book talks, and maybe come back on and talk more about it then, guys.
Maybe you can go on a book tour with Jim Comey.
And bring your seashells in case you go to the beach.
An 86 joke in there, but I'm not going to say it.
James Fitzgerald. No, don't do it. James Fitzgerald, retired FBI special agent, criminal profiler from the Unabomber case, Journey to the Center of the Mind, the series Manhunt, if you haven't checked that out. Also, check out
Unabomber. Manhunt Unabomber.
Manhunt Unabomber, yes. Okay, thank you for that. Also, check out his podcast, Cold Red, is the podcast on Spotify, Apple, and all the podcast platforms. Jim Fitzgerald, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, guys. See you next time.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Charlie, is there something better we can do with all these pallets, OCC, and shrink wrap? It just keeps building up.
Well, we have a trash company that's supposed to haul it away. I guess they're not keeping up.
Well, maybe we should shop around. All this paper, plastic, metal, this can all be recycled. We spend way too many hours just moving it around.
Actually, my My buddy's company uses Combined Resources in Addison. They pick up recyclables all over Chicago and safely dispose of it. They have this huge recycling center. Apparently, it saves them a lot in waste expenses, too.
Well, let's give Combined Resources a call.
Since 1986, Combined Resources Inc. has been your one-stop shop recycling and sustainability partner. CRI's programs reduce labor and hauling costs, boost rebate returns, and help your company go green. If your company has paper, cardboard, plastic, pallets, and metal that you want cleared and recycled, CRI will take care of it all and help you meet sustainability goals. Call 877-CRI-PLAS and learn how CRI supports smarter recycling at combinedresources.us. Combined Resources Inc., turning waste into worth, one resource at a time.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Thanks again to everyone who attended our golf tournament yesterday and raised $70,000 for Tunnel to Towers.
Yeah,
so thanks.
excellent.
And safe travels to you.
I'll be back after the 4th. Don't miss me too much.
9 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
Getting through the Iron Dome. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. More of Iran's missiles are doing that, and here's why. Israel's military now says Iran's putting multiple warheads on a missile, posing a new challenge to their defenses.
I think it says everything about Israel and about Iran.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We're targeting military sites. We're targeting nuclear sites. We're targeting missile sites. They're targeting a hospital.